Life begins after school. That's where we bend all the rules. Time to hang with my FNTASIA friends. It's episode 16, and this is the intro song. You guys ever watch 16?
Did you practice that? Like,
no, man. I just sing that theme song like at least
I
3
know
times
because
a
that
month.
was awful. That was terrible.
What?
That was one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life.
That is the best intro we have verbatim.
Were you proud of yourself when you did that? Like, I
was
just want
proud
to
of
know, like,
myself
what
when
you
I
thought.
thought of it, bro. I was proud of myself when I thought of it. When I did it, it's a different story. But yeah,
You probably should
welcome
have practiced.
to episode
Would've been
16.
better.
Yo, if you're listening to this on Spotify, you can see our video reactions on YouTube. It's kind of crazy. Or on any other podcast platform, such as it's their podcast platforms. I don't know all of them, but they're in there. They're in the link tree somewhere. Still, if you guys listen to this, here's imagine like a YouTube screenshot of subscribe versus non-subscribe, right? And the non-subscribe bar is really high. Please click that sub button, you know what I'm saying, right here, and turn the noties on, blah blah blah. And on Spotify, follow it, you know what I'm saying? Just run it up, because we're doing this every week, and it's going pretty good.
I respect
so far,
the
man.
hustle. Good job. Good job.
Yeah, nice.
Very
Cool,
nice.
Cool. Sick. If you guys are watching this, you probably already watched the Heat preview, which is sick. It was for EU. NAs will come out
Tomorrow.
and then tomorrow, so, yeah. And we got a lot to talk about for this week, though. Even though it's a bye week, there was a bunch of stuff that happened in terms of tournaments. We got tournaments on tournaments, bro. Running it up. Some that actually flipped some people up in the EU scene, believe it or not. And we could talk about it first. It's the console Champions Cup. The specific thing is, it's not really in the outline before we get to the leaderboard, but isn't this tournament the reason Veno and Letshe are banned for the moment?
I think I didn't even realize. I forgot to put that in the outline, but I think a lot of people got banned because of them linking like their exclusive skin crop. That's like the rumor that's out there. I don't know if it's true, but yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some like validity to some of that stuff, because they wanted to play in the console cup. They need to get a real account. But I don't think Letshe and Veno are in that boat, because they played console stuff before, right?
Apparently, like they like no. Apparently that is the reason for Letshe and Veno. So it was interesting to see. You know, console always claps back. You can't talk shit. You got to be careful, 24/7. But past that little like tidbit, real quick, I guess we could dive into results.
I was gonna pull up his tweet. Here you go, just so you can read it. Letche's tweet. That's all.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was suspended working with G2 and Epic. I don't, maybe I'm not on Letshe's Twitter enough, but it was so random seeing like this G2 propaganda, so to speak, but like randomly like G2 army and working with G2. Me and my homies love G2. G2's the best. When like usually on like tweets, I just see nothing about like G2 army from Letshe. So that was kind of different. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, maybe there's some pull. Finally, an Or getting some pull with Epic, but yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I still don't really understand the situation the best. Like, I had kids in my chat, so I mean, Levin, please get this shit unbanned. Like, I'll be honest, and I don't know what's happened myself. But from what I've seen is that it doesn't seem like they, I haven't seen anything to suggest that they're being unbanned or it's being dealt with yet. And if that stays the case, at least for Veno, that's a real concern, where CR and Aqua are in a position where they won't have someone to play with. CR's tweeted about how he's not allowed to play with Ibuhai, who's also been affected with this in heats. And so if CR and Aqua just can't play now, they are one of the better teams competing in the semi-finals. Definitely a team that I think a lot of people were high on. And for a lot of people, including myself, it was because of Veno specifically. But regardless, like, what happens for them? Aqua came back from quitting. CR was screwed because Aqua quit last season, but still managed to make it to finals. And now he's sort of been screwed again. Like, I do hope it gets resolved, but I still really just don't understand the situation and how it's not been resolved. Like, there must be a reason why it's just not been resolved yet, if it is just like a simple error.
Well, even if like these errors come up and they do like in different ways, like you're mentioning, right? Previous seasons, Aqua flopping up. There's always like one thing that happens. Wrigley tweets something at 12 a.m. Like, is is a substitution like rule set or like a expansion of the rules to include subs for your teams something that like we should be thinking about that people should be pushing for?
I have tried to think about it, but like I can't think of a reasonable way. Like in my mind, if you replace a single player on a trio, it is no longer the same trio compared to a CS team where you replace even 2 players, and I could still make the argument that it's the same core, you know?
Okay, but
Yeah,
then
you
what
have
if
the
it was
core of the
like
3, right?
if the team rolling in was like you submit yourself with a 4-man roster, like you can't can't just grab someone
I would
randomly
be
from
down
that.
as fuck for that. But
Yeah, like someone's barred off from playing, and then maybe the prize pools are split a certain way.
I would be very down for that, but that would require a very structured like system where where there is a gated like the top players type of situation, because then other players would want to be on that roster because they would have access to the top or the top area. But when it's all open, nobody will make that sacrifice. Not a single person, and then you'd run into situations where it's like, well, if I still want this, then I want to register somebody who's actually playing on another trio currently, but just in the future, maybe I want to swap him in, and then there's a fuck ton of conflict of interest and collusion type of situations that arise, and it just doesn't make any sense anyways, because you're like, well, why is Benji a ringer for this team? It's like,
yeah.
But what about like just letting people play as duos?
You've rattled me here. Rattled me here because I've not actually thought about that. But yeah, I think it's hard because I think it varies like case to case. When you have like a Wrigley type scenario, I think that's when the punishment is almost like there's a collective responsibility. You understand, like, you are choosing to team with someone who has that sort of potential. If he makes that mistake, that falls on all of you. But if it's a case where, like, I don't know, for me, this still just seems like a technical issue. Like, he's signed in on, it's not like he's done anything malicious, right? So like,
well, like
if it is a
allegedly,
thing
yeah,
where
TOS. The thing is, like,
I fully agree that to be honest, I don't think that, like, yeah, it is TOS or whatever, but like it was also a month, like maybe years ago, 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, who gives a fuck? Like, like, why is he getting banned now? It is, and the crazy part too is that them punishing is only like making the situation kind of like worse for them. Like, nobody would have known, nobody would have cared. Only they would have gotten kind of like screwed a little bit because but it just, maybe there's like a public situation that they want to take a stand on so that they can go after other people as well. But like,
I mean, how like go after? It's like, as you said, it's a 2 years ago thing, and it's like, why now?
This is one of the top, like one of their best players of all time too, that they're affecting. Like Aqua, for the second time, their decisions are making us miss on a situation like this. Whereas other esports, if something like this happens, where there's a minor infraction for a player and they're playing in, let's say, a CS:GO major or something like that coming up, like that shit gets resolved like instantly. It's like, yeah, okay, well, you fucked up. We banned you for it, but actually we're gonna retract that ban because like it's a big deal for you to be playing in a major, so like that's more important than this, But hey, slap on the hand anyways, here's a warning type of thing. Like, why not that? It just feels like such a strict no tolerance policy that definitely hurts.
Yeah,
I do want to think about that duo thing. I think I'm kind of down for that.
Because like it's a heat stage or a grand final stage, right? Like,
exactly. That's the thing. Like if it was like opens or something like that, or like, because I've thought about that situation for like making a third-party league, like for elite scrims and stuff like that, back when I was working on that. And I think the situation was like, no, you can't. I came up with the justification that you shouldn't be able to do that because then you'll take spots from other people trying to get in the customs.
Yeah.
But this is not
when
that.
you have a set 33, right? You should be fine. Maybe there's an argument for like, hey, round 4 qual, like you shouldn't be able to, because like that's a little bit earlier. We haven't made it to that set stage, but like until then, it's like, man, like,
yeah,
why not? Like you're down, man. Like you have a consequence, you have a punishment, and you're gonna be playing at a detriment. And like, just imagine like a duo winning like FNCS, like that would be insane, or like just placing really high. Like that would actually be such a big flex. Like, geez.
Yeah, it would give them an opportunity to have success.
Yeah.
I feel like
100%.
especially if they're in a position where, like, if it was a thing where Epic are like, you know, taking a stance, if it's not just, if not going to be retracted, right? If Veno just won't be unbanned, then I definitely think it would be, you know, fine in that scenario to just, you know, let them play.
It's such a niche scenario though. Like, it treads on the thing that you talked about before, Levin, which I slightly disagree with, like the Wrigley situation. Like, you would have to basically allow those situations to also go by in duos as well. You know what I mean? Like this is something that two teammates have no control over, and it was something that is wrong to do. Like, it's not abided by the TOS. Like, and so, you know, one person gets DQ'd, the other two can play. Like, that situation for me is same in the Wrigley thing. It's not like all three people schemed up that, you know, tweet and rolled it through. Like,
I'm on both your sides here, because I argued with basically Levin's side before. I don't know why I turned into a lisp all of a sudden. I was on that train where it's like, well, these guys, they knew the situation, they knew the rules, like, you should rein in your teammates. But that's only because the rules are as they are. If there was a situation where it's like, okay, you could play as a duo, or you could get a fourth man sub who's been on your roster or whatever, I would be much more comfortable with that. But the reason why I wasn't like that is because I didn't really think of possibilities where that was the case, and it isn't the case. So that's why I'm still on the they should be paying attention to who they're teaming with type.
Yeah. Type beat.
Yeah, because it's just you should know the rules, and you should know how to be treating your teammates and whatever to give yourself, you know, the best possibilities.
Yeah.
It's more of a game theory thing than anything, though.
Yeah, straight up. But yeah, past that, sorry for that tangent. Console Champions Cup. We can dive into, I would say, more so the conversation of like, sorry, go ahead, Levin.
No, I was just gonna say, well, I think there is a lot to talk about with the Console Cup, but it's more so beyond the actual results and what happened in the Console Cup, right?
Yeah.
I think I want to just sort of give the ISO here. You know, I'm gonna pass the ball. I'm gonna go hit the wing, stand in the corner. You know, if you choose to pass it, maybe I'll take a free, whatnot. That's actually what happened, though. Quickly, for me on the EU at least, wasn't too interesting. I watched Resub's viewing party. I don't really remember much. I just remember like Benji. Everyone's getting excited about Benji and being cracked on console, and like there was a lot of stuff like dirty. Like it was cool. It was cool. Don't get me wrong. It was fun to see, especially like when there was certain people who are like really, really established in the console community doing well. That was like cool to get to see them playing with like, you know, better PC players. But beyond that, there wasn't anything that was like, oh my God, this is the most exciting tournament ever, you know?
Yeah. Before I give the ISO too, just I do want to like just the recap for anybody who really like was trying to follow every single comp Fortnite result, and they're using this podcast to do it. Andalex, Letshe, and Lysen won the EU Cup by a pretty significant margin with 2 wins. Andalex is obviously a PC keyboard and mouse player. Letshe and Lysen play console like when there was FNCS for it, but they're also very good like PC controller players. So that's that.
Isn't Lysen like a FNCS champ?
Yes,
yeah, he is.
And then on NA East, we had Nut, Jays, and TK, which is actually like a full console like FNCS team, but they also are like Nut played World Cup on PC. Like he played a lot of different things. I think he played in duo FNCS console. But you remember Nut and Twexy, that duo, like that was a controller on PC team. They went back for this as well, and they won. So it's actually different. Same. Actually, second place team is a full like console typically, right? But it's so hard to differentiate between like the console players and the PC players and whatnot right now, especially when it comes to the top of the top, because half the time they're switching around anyways. Like they're not exclusively playing. Well, when there are console tournaments, they're playing those, but when you know they're still playing the PC tournaments, and that's the guys who are winning, which makes a lot of sense. NA East was much more favored in that regard. Like there wasn't any top NA East PC only pros who came in and dominated that.
Yeah, and then like I'm about to dive in here.
Okay, ISO.
All right, here we go. Just setting up a question first. After looking at the boards, after looking at stuff in general for like a third time, like what is the difference between PC Pro, right, playing on console versus top console person? like if they're on the same platform?
They're the same.
They're basically like there's no advantage, right? There's no advantage of not playing on a PS5. Like they're using skill, right? Like it's still deserved. We're still in the business. Past that as well, like we'll dive into this entire conversation that started off of an Aussie Antics tweet. You could pull it up if you want. But like, you know, basically like TLDR, to wrap up this take that I was up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. to argue about. Aussie's saying like it's, and a lot of people are agreeing with him, that apparently like everything when it comes to console is very like top heavy PC Pro. And like every console tournament is being dominated by PC players. And it's a bad thing. The prize will this, that. The goal should be to, you know, get these guys on PC as well. And like I just hard disagree with like I think almost every take that's rolling through. I came through to support kind of what Resub was saying, but at the same time, talk about it on a little bit of my own tangent as well. There's a lot of tweets on the page, but like basically the take is that like you want to set up console people to be able to buy PCs and play on PC tracks. And I feel like that's such an abhorrent, like
abhorrent,
like
so dramatic,
like maimed take. Like it's just so weird, man. Like I don't understand why you would have a tournament or a league just to get people from that platform to another. Like why would that just doesn't make any sense to me. It's not like you're trying to get D2 players and D1 players. Like these tournaments should be ran.
I don't think that's what he's saying.
That is one of the things that's one of the major things that he's saying. It's one of the things I just want to address. You can scroll up in the tweets. It's like the entire idea is about we should be supporting these console players to get onto the like to be able to get prize pools, buy PCs, and go like 100%. That's one of the biggest, like if this is a political campaign, this is one of the biggest asks of this campaign.
Maybe
like,
of the campaign, but not I don't genuinely. Maybe I'm not seeing the tweet or whatever. I didn't really go in through all your fucking essays here.
No,
but
you don't need to do. I'm in the trenches with a goddamn military helmet fighting these console weebs. I don't know what to call them, right? Listen, I'm on the aggressive right now. All right, I'm going in.
Attack dog.
They're telling me like I need to. We're trying to save up for PCs. I've never seen a single console person say I want to be the best person on console. I've never seen a single argument on console be like, I want to be the best PS5 player known to man, or the top Xbox player. It's always, I want to be able to support my family and get a PC. I want to be able to go play on PC, upgrade to PC. Like, why is that even a thing? Like, should it not be just to support the platform?
No, because why wouldn't that be a thing? I think that's good. Like, just generally to have people who want to be able to play like and experience the game at its maximal in competitive Fortnite.
So if they want to do that, why are they skipping like from step 3 to step 8? Like you have to do it the right way. You have to go up against some of the best players. You can't just go buy willy-nilly against dog shit and then get enough money to buy a PC and compete with top pros. You got to be able to move up the ranks in some sort of way. It's like they want to be able to play on PC, right, and get the money, but they don't want to beat the people to be able to do that. And that's where I have that kind of like disconnect. Like, I don't understand. That's one thing we can dissect on this big slice of cake real quick, right? Yep. Second of all, this entire idea of like competitiveness versus investment. What are we talking about? Like, what? I don't understand this like investment type thing. Like, you are a little bit inside this conversation. You have some takes. I need to bounce off of something. I need to badly bounce off of something right now.
This is where I was basically thinking that Aussie was going with this idea, right? It's about it isn't about competitiveness, it's about investment. So thinking of this from Epic's point of view, basically, what are their goals by running a console tournament? Is it to create the best of the best console players so they can be the best console players and then they can move to PC? Or is it simply about making the console scene vibrant and popular and give people an outlet to play competitive Fortnite for the major population of the game?
It's the same thing. That's the same thing.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. Not for console.
You get it vibrant by being like by setting these guys up for success.
I don't think you can do that. I personally don't think you can do that. Why? Because console is already bad performance. It's already competitive integrity, dampened right from the start. And then on top of that, you already have, it's not like you're making a second tier of competition by having console, because there's also second tier of competition on PC already, right? So it's like, where does that even fit? Where does that even fit?
You're accepting these risks, so to speak, and these detriments by operating in the space.
I just don't think that's the best way to do it, though, right? Because for them to make a vibrant competitive console scene, what do they need to do, right? What are the steps that they need to do that? They need to have, regular tournaments. Okay, that's already pretty difficult given the amount of investment they're making in the top of the top PC tournaments and how much schedule there is, and for cash cups and all this other stuff, whatever. So that's already pretty difficult. We've seen they've done it in the past with FNCS console, right? Then you need to promote those tournaments with a viewing experience that is followable and whatnot, and that has never existed because they're already investing so much on PC, and they're already honestly struggling to make that a reality as well for PC. Doing that for console on top of all that for different regions and whatnot would be impossible. So how do you do it? You support, I guess, viewing parties and whatnot, but like supporting that really doesn't even make sense anyways. And there's not really any big creators for that because the interest is not really there, right? For that type of content. So those two things are already difficult to establish. What else do you have to do? You have to actually incentivize players to be able to, you have to incentivize players to want to be the best in that division, the console players. And to do that, you need a shit ton of money to differentiate the different, tiers of people who are participating, right? Yeah. And then you need to make it fair. How the fuck are you making console fair? How? With 60 FPS in endgames that don't work already. Like, how are you going to make that fair? With people who come over from... So, it can't be about competitiveness.
No, but... Okay,
there you go.
Out of default, I can also nitpick Fortnite as a game entirely and the decisions that are being made to get it out of the state of being competitive and being fair, right? That's another thing. Like, when you're in console, you're already operating with that mindset of some things aren't going to be fair. But in general, I kind of see what you're talking about with, like, you can't support like a long-term type of, league system or structure overall. I just feel like the events should still have enough integrity to where the best players should still be able to play, and the best players at the end of the day end up winning on the platform. That's what I'm kind of coming in with in terms of support. Like, everything that's being asked is basically just saying, hey, the best players should not be able to win the tournament because we need to throw bones for others to make the game not die in 2 years.
I don't.
The take I'm seeing.
Yeah, okay. I don't agree with that take specifically either. Like, if it is open for the top players to come play, I don't mind that. Like, I honestly don't really care that the top PC players or controller on PC players are coming over and winning on console anyways. I honestly don't think that matters that much. But I do think that the broad investment into console competition should be to encourage a fuck ton of people to play on console and try to experience some level of competitive Fortnite, because that is the beauty of the game. And then they also are getting interested, like, oh, I've played an endgame. Okay, now I understand why watching Benji Fishy is like really cool. It's like what we talked about last episode. So in my mind, the way they should be going about this is actually like Winter Royale-esque 2019 Winter Royale, where they have a competition. It's open to console players. Not many PC players are coming over to play. Maybe there are, maybe there aren't. I don't really give a fuck. But the incentive is for lots of people to play. So it's deep prize pool splits all the way down. Some people call that charity.
Splits,
I don't give a fuck.
I don't think you need the if you're like, you are right, but then like I just don't understand why you need to attach deep prize pools to it. Like, get the people hooked on playing the end game. Get the people hooked on the process. Money doesn't have to be a part of it. Money does not have to be a part of it. Money can stay the same way it is right now out of this console like Champions Cup, whatever it's called.
Yeah, $250,000. Make that deep. I don't care. Like, I honestly don't. I don't disagree with you there either. I don't think money has to be a part of it.
They're not asking for the 250K to get deeper. They're asking for it to stay the same and adding another 250K on top of it.
No, fuck,
I'm addressing but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying fuck that too. Yeah. Like, that's the take I'm seeing online, is that we need to up the price pools. we need to up the price pools. We need to do all this and all that. Like, there's a good process right now. There's nothing wrong, but like in terms of looking at the journey of a player that you're talking about, which I support this entire take of, like, you know, get him hooked to, like, play an end game, get hooked to the process, get into comp, work up the ranks, beat Nut and Twexy, beat Nut, TK and Jays. Like, that should be a part of the process. And like, you don't need a deep prize pool split to allow that to happen. Like, think about all the players who were playing, like, just to get, you know, just to get to a point on PC in the early days to play with other top players. There were no prizes involved. It was just for, like, the sake of the game. Like,
what?
Can we get some ball movement here?
Or like step one. Like, I know step one had like
ball.
Can we get some ball movement? All right. Can I just quickly say, so are you saying that you think people need to progress up and, like, sort of level their way up if they're console, like, you know, you have to get through the Nut and the Twexies or whatever, right? Is that what you're trying to say? And then you sort of level up. Is that what you're getting at?
No, I'm just saying that, like, for people playing on that track right now, or that track in general, have the integrity there so people can experience competition the way it's supposed to be experienced. The prize pools shouldn't have to be deepened for that to be a possibility. The incentive is already there in how competitive it is. And just have these events more in terms of, if you want to support, like, you know, the investment idea of it. Investment doesn't have to be just, you know, wrecking everything through absurd prize pools, which will then get more PC players to come through, which then makes people even more angry. Like, just have the events more and more, have them be integral, and we're chilling. Like, all these changes of investing, like, double the money just don't make sense to me.
I think the ratio that they have right now is not bad. I think it could swing either way, like, slightly. I doubling is $250,000 right now in comparison to FNCS prize pool. Like, that still is fine to me.
It's the whole region. Yeah, I mean, it's the idea of you double, and then they're gonna ask, you're gonna have to double again, this and that, blah blah blah. And then, like,
account for inflation, you know, do the math a little bit.
Like, it's a slippery slope. I just as soon as I saw this take of, like, Fortnite will die if this doesn't go right, or like, I don't know, that was just like, I just don't know about that one.
I wish we sort of could have. I don't understand the console community. Like, I don't even know who their representatives sort of are in that sense. I don't know how much of a community you feel console really has when it comes to competitive, but I would like to know, in terms of people who do just exclusively play console, not the people who are PC players who maybe came up from console, and so when there's console events with money, they'll go back and play. Because that's why what I was alluding to with that word before, where if you're trying to say they need to get through the Nut and Twix of the world, the only reason why those guys go back to play on console now anyway is because there's money there. If you take away that money, they're not playing there, so there is no one in that sense to go through anymore, right? Those guys would just stay and play the PC track. If console sort of, I don't know if they're appeased by this. Do console players, you know, feel like, yeah, this event was sort of enough to sort of satisfy our
and I think that's what
Shyo's
upset about.
Us? So do you suggest, like, we just have more things like this, but just not the money, essentially?
I'm just saying, like keep it the same way, and keep it a little bit more about the integrity than the dazzling, like, you know, chance of console getting money. Because I feel like that is just a slope where it just actually doesn't support players improving, getting better, and, like, actually playing for the game, and it makes more people come down and have that entire problem. The other, like, side part of it is that, like, you know, I'm not sure who is still stuck on console. Like, if you're truly trying to be the top player in this game, you're probably going to end up doing stuff in your life to get you a PC to be able to compete and play. I might be, like, overstepping here, and I don't know everyone's situation. I'm going to say that first off and foremost, but, like, for most people who are in a spot to be able to compete, you know, like, they make that step, they move, they acquire bread, and they roll. For people not in that spot, like, I'm not saying stay in your lane, so to speak, but, like, there are lanes, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't think that's unfair, you know. I literally had that experience where I played the game, like, season 2. I wanted to get better at the game. I saw the best players were playing on PC, so I started playing on PC, right? Like, you know, I don't think that's an unfair viewpoint. What I would say, though, is you know, when you start to look at who those people playing are that are, let's say, you know, sort of stuck there at this stage, right? You would assume if they're not moving towards trying to move to PC, it's just because they just enjoy the console experience, right? Like,
yeah, that or they can't, and if they can't, that's okay. Like, it'll come in time. It's just stop trying to rush it right now. Like, stop trying to be in a lane that you just can't be in, unfortunately, due to whatever reason. You know, just experience the things that you're supposed to experience. Just keep trucking. You know, like.
Okay, well, I mean, everybody does come from different backgrounds, so like, it is not necessarily like an opportunity for a 13-year-old to go out and get a fucking job and like get a PC.
No, 100%. But then, like, are 13-year-olds supposed to be making like you know, like X amount of money, or are they all supposed to have the opportunity to be able to compete in an esport game? You know, that's a whole entire other conversation.
Yeah.
Like,
you go ahead.
I think that this is the most clear split in Fortnite. You know how it's like there's Fortnite Esports, and then, well, okay, there's like Fortnite Esports, and they're like, nah, actually, it's not called esports, it's called competitive. Like, I think this is the actual place where there is a differentiation to me, where it's console is competitive. They call it whatever the hell they want, right? It's not really an esport. Whereas the top of the top FNCS PC type shit is really the esport. This is the place where I actually see that split being pretty valid. Again, I don't think it's about finding the gems or finding the top players or anything like this. I think it's just an outlet for people to experience competitive Fortnite. And I think that's very, very important. But I do agree with your main point, which is like, this is fine.
Yeah.
This is fine. Like, honestly, this is fine. Like, there is a disease within the Fortnite community where every single thing that we see, we want to change. The community is a virus. We infect everybody within our community to be like, squads was so good. We should go play squads. No, it's dog shit. It's like, the format sucks. Like, every single thing we have in the game, we want to change. Like, we want to change. There is no aspect of our game, of our structure, of our esport that we as a community don't want to try to change. And, you know, I'm part of that, but I think for something like this, like, just let it play out on a couple seasons and see where it goes. Like, maybe the player count is ridiculous and everybody understands, or maybe, like, you know, it does everything that both you and Ozzy want. Like, who knows?
I mean, the biggest flip-flop thing I've seen from this was, like, in FNCS, it was like, yo, you know, why is console running at the same time as PC? This makes no sense. This is one of the biggest reasons no one watched it, and one of the biggest reasons that, like, no one was interested in console FNCS. And then this one comes around and it's by itself. And then the first layer of feedback I'm seeing is, man, they should be running this the same time as PC, so PC players don't have a chance to play in it. And I'm like, bro, what is going on? Like, what?
Everything is so reactionary, bro. It's so reactionary. But yeah, I like that comment. Oh, it should be running outside of FNCS so that people will actually want to watch it or are interested. It's like, no.
Like, no one wants.
It's funny because we all fucking thought that this console Champions Cup was gonna be lit. Like, many people were gonna be watching it. Like, the big streamers are gonna be playing it. Nope. Nope.
I really do. Yeah. Like, I want to know what the sense of community feel is in, like, people who play console competitive, because, like, you sort of brought this up earlier, Shyo, where you were like, you know, back in the day, people used to grind scrims, blah blah blah, whatever, and like, it wasn't necessarily about the money. I think that's very different because back then, you know, we were playing in the hopes of, you know, Epic realizing there's a big community for comp, make this into like a proper esport, right? You know, we knew something like World Cup was only around the corner. And then maybe it wasn't necessarily what we thought it was, but at least there was a shit ton of money, so we will still compete. And then at that point, everyone's already hooked. Whereas for these guys, they've already had a sense and a feel of something good. They had FNCS, they had, like, you know, regular Cash Cups and whatnot. And so now, like, you know what I mean? So now if you're them, like, do you sort of, like, I really want to know, people who are just exclusively part of that console community, like, are they sort of looking into the future of, like, oh, let's be optimistic, something best is around the corner, or are they just sort of, like, getting fed up? Is this sort of, like, this is everything we've been asking for? Like, I feel like I've not seen anybody be able to represent that. I don't know how console feel about this, like, tournament, and that's why, like, it's really hard for me to give my thoughts. I don't think we matter. at the end of the day, right? Like, I think it is more so important of, is it effective? Is it good for the people who it's designed for? So
sounds like we need a little Levin survey to go out.
but I don't know, like, who are like, but that's the thing, I don't, there's so many console players, but like, who's the biggest only console competitive player? Like, I don't know who
it's just
like,
because every time they're replying to you, Levin, the tweets are hidden under, you know, show offensive or
spam content.
But they gotta get us in, like, there must be a big console scrim Discord, and they gotta like do an open forum in there.
What
Something
if there
like that.
wasn't,
There has to be.
Would it surprise you if there wasn't?
No, there has to be though, because that's how a lot of
there is.
That's how a lot of the controller players who are like big in PC level became friends, and like they know each other because they used to scrim with each other in console.
I know Lupien like runs something for like NAE's console. I know
Lupien like Cartoon Paul had an elite console like Discord. I think it died eventually, but there's Mayhem and stuff like that. There's a bunch of different. I think one of my mods, Chino, runs a console West Discord. Like there's a lot of different.
Someone should just like be the Bala of console, bro, because there's just way more kids. Like you'd just be way bigger. Do you know what I mean? Like if you were just the Bala of console, just do VOD reviews and just, bro, it'd be so free.
The thing is, there are
D-Face in the business, no? Like isn't like he's in the business of console?
Somebody's gun as well, bro. They're out there.
No, honestly, I did tell somebody's gun to do that. Like when I first met somebody's gun, I was like, if you want to like just grow your brand, just like do what Bala does, but just do it exclusively for console. And, like you'll grow like a fan base that will just love you until they're 24.
Oh, is that just the ending? Like once you're 24, like you're no longer a fan.
Once you're 24,
fuck all of TW.
Like fucking up. I've got myself into a whole. No, like,
is this my last year, Levin, of like enjoying video games? Am I done? Am I done in January? Bro, is it over for me?
No, but like you've probably finished your degree now. You're going into a job. You don't want to play Fortnite no more. You've moved on. That's But some of them do stick around, Bala. I'm sure you see them in your chat.
Fuck off.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I thought you were taking a jab at my age. That's all.
No. Oh, come on, Bala. What you? No, you look no older than 22. No older than 22.
I do look younger than you. That's actually facts. You look like a fucking.
Okay. Well, we're getting into what's the next topic? What's the next topic here?
You were talking about like we love squads. We love squads. Let's talk about squads then. Reverse 2K Squad Cup. Let's jump into it. Get a little palate cleanser, so to speak. This is the most I feel like hyped. I mean, maybe it's just confirmation bias because it's the most recent one, but I think it's the most hyped like third party mode mix-up tournaments, MMT, so to speak.
Since Nick A30 Cup.
Like, I honestly just think since Dreamhack, no, because that was duos.
Bro, like that was hype for a moment, and then it was like, oh, we're actually playing duos, and it's like slightly different, but like maybe December, like or November, the first month, and then after that, it's just like, okay, it's just another Dreamhack duos type beat. Maybe you're right though.
This is like War Legend stuff that comes up. Sometimes there's like a solo competition here or there, but I've never seen so much buzz and so much ramp up, like the actual ramp up that sustains for a tournament other than like this one.
Because it's been a while. It's been a while. Last time we had squads was probably that War Legends Invitational, literally right after the squad FNTASIA season ended. That was the last time. Yeah. So makes sense. I mean, it's a good mode, man. So people get hyped for a mode where you just have some fun. Like, I think it was a vibe.
Mode.
What?
I was just gonna make a joke about all the harassment. Squads has too many people. You don't get to have enough individuality in squads. Yada yada yada. But yeah, in terms of rolling in this one, dude, like, how is it possible that these guys aren't gonna win the FNCS? Acorn, Slacks, and Jack.
Because they won a squads tournament.
Because they won a squads tournament, they've just been winning 24/7, like after the fact as well. Like in every tournament they're part of.
To be fair, this is the week of takes like that, like dog shit. They won a squads tournament, so they're gonna win.
But like like, okay, then let's talk about results in a willy-nilly fashion, and we won't add flavor. Set it up, bro.
No. I'm just laughing at the state of our breaks, of our bye week. Where it's like we have a week off in between. There was no tournament this weekend. Like, we're not talking about, well, okay, we did the Heats previews or whatnot, but like we're not talking about fucking scrim bucks or anything like that. We're not watching the fucking scrims that the trios are playing.
Oh, they're scrims.
we're talking about Dreamhack duos. We're talking about reverse 2K squad cups, like open formats. We're talking about solo cash cups. Like, that's where we're at. That's all we have. You're right. That's all we have.
That's all we have.
What else can I look at to see? These guys can't play like official competition, so it's like,
yeah. I do think we should take it in context though, because like Dreamhack, actually they didn't qual. Trio Cash Cup, we'll see in a minute where they place in that, but like that was last week. I think I'm in the middle of like I'm not rating them way low. Obviously it's fucking Jax, Acorn, and Slacks, but I do have doubts about them getting a first place again. Like I don't think it's a lock by any means. I think that it is a much wider range than I had at the beginning of the season when they won back-to-back Cash Cup and Dreamhack Extra, and they had just won FNCS, and they won a bunch of duo tournaments as well. Like, that was where I was. I was like, these guys are going to win back-to-back. Now, as the season progressed, and as they've not had practice and whatever, and I've actually started to like look at them throughout the different stages, I'm like, maybe it's not there anymore. Maybe the lock is not there. They're going to have to work for it.
Are they like, there's always this excuse, especially when it comes to like cash cups and stuff, when people don't qual, were they trying?
Yeah.
Or like,
it's hard. It's impossible to tell. That's why like I want to just throw this away, but I have to talk about it because it's the only.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be biased. I'm not bothered about that. I still think if you ever had them as a lock, I still think you should. You know what I mean? I'm not looking at anything and thinking, oh, maybe stuff like the Cash Cup, right? I am sort of just looking at that like, yeah, there's nothing that suggests to me that they've lost any sort of intensity or they are struggling to, figure out how they want to play the game. And I genuinely think it's weird because maybe that would have made, the whole people who auto qual to next finals more interesting, like where we're actually like, we tried at the start of the season, right? We're looking at No Riley, Vidu, and Reason, like they're Valorant players now, like how do can they keep up with the meta? Like, and they roll into Cash Cup Extra, just roll for everyone, do you know what I mean? So maybe it would have been more interesting if it was that way. I just think a lot of these guys are just so damn good that like it just doesn't matter. Like, I think they are just so far ahead that they will just step up and perform exactly how you'd expect them to perform.
It's kind of off topic from like the Squad Cup in general, but I just realized the missed opportunity in just building stories for these guys for like a whole season, like a stories from the Battle Bus type beat, or like be using them for like content, because I'm wondering how to keep up with the squad, right? Like outside of scrims.
How do you know? Like, how do you know they're not in the stories from the Battle Bus, bro?
Allegedly.
How do you know?
But it's not out yet, and like finals are almost. You know what I'm saying? Like,
nah, fuck that shit. Release that next week. I want the vlog next week, right before finals. Like, let's go, type of shit.
No, but because like there's 7 regions, right? Like there should have been something every week about like regions.
Oh, you want an OCE Battle Bus story?
Not, but like the major stuff, man. Like like NA East EU. Like I wanna see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. I just realized that.
Man, that's on you, man. That's on you and the broadcast team. Like, what are y'all doing? You guys are releasing mirror zones. Like,
that was last season. We didn't have the opportunity yet.
Oh, okay.
That's a banger.
Oh,
video,
it's coming. It's coming. I got it.
It's coming.
I really wish I knew what's going on there, but no clue. It's funny. I genuinely have no clue what you guys are talking about, but yeah.
He's just saying that he thinks there's a missed opportunity for like content about the teams who are the big bosses in grand finals type of stuff.
But that's been that way like since the start of the game.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like that's never not been that way.
Yeah. But my point is that it's on all of us, like, because you know damn for sure that there ain't no stories of the Battle Bus coming out because we don't have all the cameras and the B-roll and all the the land footage and whatnot. So it's on us to make a.
That's COVID. It's COVID.
Oh yeah,
After COVID. After COVID.
True. We can put that
all
in
the
the
docs you could possibly want.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to interview for somebody to interview, Acorn and Jack.
You would be surprised.
It does not take that much, man. Literally over how many months? Man. How many months? We've had 3 months of them like being free every weekend, by the way, to do whatever the hell, like.
Yeah, no, it's just also like I realize like just interviewing some people like or like getting some people like that face to name like recognition is like it's just impossible. Like some people are just like they're not set up for that type of lifestyle, right?
Yeah,
or that type of content.
But even still, audio. Just get some sound bites from them, man. Like, yeah, just get some sound bites for them. Like, it is on us as a community. Like, I don't want to put the blame on any one party here. It's just like, if there's a missed opportunity, then, hey, there's a gap. There's a gap in esports. You can make money right here. You can make money.
Wait. Can you share this with us? Can you share this with us first before you start telling the world? Like, hold on. We can make money, like, brother.
There's a cash register for fucking content right here. Like, Jesus Christ. It'd be so sick.
Please share, because on like this general conversation, one thing I've always struggled with in Fortnite is like the audience is naturally just a lot younger, and like getting kids to care about shit that is actually somewhat cool, that in a couple of years when they mature, they probably would be like, oh shit, that is cool. It's hard, bro. Like, I've seen it where you guys will be casting and spitting hot fire, and like you get some 15-year-old saying, oh, that's cringe. Like, no, like, grow up a bit and you'll get it. Do you know what I mean? And I've always like sort of found it hard to get the kids to sort of care, right? In terms of like getting face to name recognition, that's really hard in Fortnite, where you just, for the most part, you have to be some sort of like high energy, like the Ronaldo archetype, maybe like the Clicks archetype. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's always been a lot harder to do that in this game, where it's like in other games, even in sports, right? You'll get characters who become incredibly popular. By virtue of their character, they're not the most interesting. Like, some of them often will be like quite quiet people, they live like really just weird lives. But, people tell stories about them in a way that allows loads of people to start caring about them. I don't really see that much in Fortnite, right? There's very rare examples. Maybe like someone like Mars, right, is an example of that, where, his story sort of touched people's heart and now he has a big fan base. But like, he had to get flipping 2 million arena points to get people to care. Like, at what point do you start to like, you really think, oh, this is hard? Like, maybe
let me ask you then, what have been the attempts to get people to care about a personal interest, like a human interest story, or just literally the game story itself of an up-and-comer player? Like, what have been the attempts? Because genuinely, I don't think there are fucking any.
I think that's a bit harsh.
I mean, as a point, the only ones that have been released that have been attempted officially have had very good recognition, and that's been the stories from the battle bus.
Well, BL have done it with their players. Yeah.
The BL stuff was like well received, right? Like that was good. The Origins from Liquid was another one that was also really good.
I don't want to get into this conversation because it's even bigger, but it's like, I think by default, everybody looks for that sort of docu content to do. Like, that's not the only way it can be done, but everyone just goes to that by default. And so like BL do it, and it's sick that BL do it, but like,
there's the Parpy story
Shyo, yeah, like the Parpy one, you know what I mean? Like, people do it and it is cool, and sometimes it'll be well received. And I'm sure that does hook a lot of people, and a lot of people became fans of BL players because of that. But like, that shouldn't be the default. Even if that is the default, like, you've got to, expand beyond that, right? Like, and yes, there haven't been many attempts in that sense to try and expand beyond that.
Yeah. I think one more thing is, like, I'll storyboard like some ideas, right? You take some of the big names. You use their own fan bases to do some consistent content, right? You interview, you get Ronaldo to say something about Slacks and Acorn. You get somebody to talk trash. You get any of this stuff where the community will latch on to some funny ass moments. Like, how many times have you seen that Bizzle I wake up every morning and I just want to know what changed. You know what I'm talking about? Like the community latches on to these like little moments. Little moments is I think the place that people need to focus on the most. And that comes from consistent content like podcasts, like interviews, like other stuff.
Reality TV type beat.
Sure. Yeah, why not?
Like consistent, like consistent updates. Like, yo, what'd you think about this week, or how did that week go? And like, just kind of doing like a Big Brother not Big Brother,
Big
but like
Brother.
you're doing like a
crap.
listen. You're just doing like a you're doing like an overview. Like there's this camera set up on people playing the game out. You know what I'm saying? And like with their true and whatnot. And like you got those side interviews where they're sitting at a chair looking at a camera and just doing the interview. And then it goes like, anyways, not Big Brother, but like
that shit does bang. But that shit does bang, and I literally see like football teams like abuse that right now. Like football teams, they just have like a guy, like an intern with a different camera. He's just on the sidelines, just recording stuff, like walking through the tunnels, and that shit will bang. In esports, it could do well as well, but it works well when you have a LAN circuit where there's lots of actual cool, like realistically, like how many times do you want to see Hen sitting at his desk in his room, like before, like, you want to see transition. You want to see Hen's journey traveling to this sort of place where there's a LAN, him in the hotel, him at the food shop with Anas and Flick. Like, you need variety in this game where, one, there's been COVID, two, this game inherently has never really had that many LANs anyway. So like that instantly becomes a lot harder trying to do that style of things, right? Like there are a lot of hurdles that you have to face in Fortnite when you're trying to think of
think you simplify it though. We're talking about all these technical ideas and stuff like that. Just simplify. You just need a webcam. You don't even need a webcam. You just need an audio bit, like just having a conversation with a dude and just like post it on Twitter. Like, oh, you guys saw the Mars thing this weekend? The Mars thing where he's playing a Cash Cup and he's like, oh, my teammates are he didn't say it like that. It's Mars. He's a nice guy. He's
teammates could be better.
Yeah. Like stuff like that. That shit clearly bangs. Stuff like that would we be following like a little bit more. Like Slack, Saquon, and Jack. Let's get their opinion on let's call them up. Get their opinion on what the format. Get their opinion on not playing. But let's hear them week after week say, I should be playing in the qualifiers. I'm so hungry. I want to play these. I'm not getting into practice. It's dog shit. Like, get them to say that. That way, when they come out and they dominate, then all of a sudden there's more there. And to your point, there is a gap. So how do you fill it? Fill it with anything. Anything. Take a shovel. Take the fucking sand out of anywhere. Just throw that shit in the hole and fill the gaps.
That's where I'm on like Levin's side of like, just in terms of the audience and the players, they're just not willing to do that, or they don't have like the capacity to send it out even in that most simplistic sense. Like, I don't think people are like going to latch on.
Have you tried? Yes. Have you tried to get people to
I'm doing this off of like anecdotal firsthand experience of like just trying to get people for simple interviews, like a day before or a day after on Dreamhack, like nah, or like looking at those interviews, asking like literal loaded questions that they just need to say something remotely interesting, or just get like a soundbite, and like it doesn't hit. It just doesn't hit. And
you're doing that on behalf of Dreamhack. I'll tell you, number one, you're doing it not for yourself, so it's not as interesting for you. Secondly, the players are looking at it's like for Dreamhack, oh, they're going to be on a stream of 300 viewers. Like, they don't give a crap.
Well, look, Bala, cool. I'm gonna get you a job as creative director at one of these Fortnite orgs, and I want you to fucking work magic. Yeah, I want to see you just change the game. They're gonna call you the creator. Fuck that X8 guy, right? You're gonna be the creator now. Yeah. We're going to sort you out. I want to see these ideas, and I want to see the babies latch onto all these 14, 13-year-olds that call everything cringe. I want them to see Bala and say, no, that guy's a genius. Everything is a genius. And I want to see that work. I just find it hard to believe it work. And the thing is, everything you're saying, it's true. Like, it's not like I don't agree with what you're saying. It is true. It's just, it's from what I've seen, from the small amount I've seen, there's nothing for me to be like, you know what, that could really, really work. I just don't have that confidence. in Fortnite at least. Maybe in other games and in other scenes.
I'll give you an example of one place where it has worked, and that's Beehive and his fucking meme machine. Like, no, it's not like necessarily the type of content that we're looking for, but it is a little bit more interesting, a little bit more deep, and that shit all bangs. Put a player's face on a Marvel movie scene, like Jack Acorn and Slacks there, whatever Hydra shit from whatever movie action, like fantasy sequence, they're in Slurpy Swamps. Like, I don't know, like anything.
That's but that's you proved my point there in what I'm trying to say, where it's like we do need to be trying to find a way to appeal to kids. Like Beehive has captured that perfectly, where he's found the one thing that the kids do care about. They care about fucking memes, like troll videos, right? Like they like that shit. And so we need more of those. And, as much as I try hold on to my youth, clearly I'm out of tune with that as well. Cause I don't know what the fuck they care about.
You do be sounding like, hello, fellow kids in this entire podcast.
Like, I don't know what the fuck they care about. Like but you feel it as well, where like people like say jokes and things in my chat, or like they'll talk about things that are funny in my chat. And I'm like, but I'm thinking that's not funny. Like, how do you guys find that funny? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't find that funny. And so even me, I feel like I'm out of tune. But yeah, you are right. Beehive is actually a perfect example of that. Where's more? Where are not more Beehives in the sense of more people doing what Beehive does, but where are the other sort of markets in which you can capitalize on like Beehive did? I'm struggling to see those.
It's not corporate, man, so it won't ride on like official channels. That's the only issue. Like that stuff's very free form, very like, free use type beat in media as well. Like you need to be very, very fluid to be able to have like the capacity to make content like that. So it would never mesh with official channels.
Yes, it will.
Well,
Season 4, FN Comp, social media guy gets hired and just starts tweeting Shyo Wager certified bangers. Tweet after tweet. Doom's domain, whatever the hell. All those jokes, all those tweets were so good. The Dreamhack social media person with the Pirates of the Caribbean boat firing off type of thing, like all these things, like they ride on official channels too. Yes, they might not be like, the toppest of top tiers, but I think all of these, it's like no pun intended, it's like a beehive. All these fucking holes. There are so many holes. And it's all part of an ecosystem. You need the memes, you need the interviews, you need the podcasts, you need the hot takes.
It's like the issue is the water gets tainted every time you're not riding that line. It's dope to have those funny, memes on FN Comp, the dope tweets on Dreamhack as well. As soon as you go back to like corporate life, where here's a win, no commentary, or here's a basic generic tweet, like people insta lose interest. Like if we're talking about the TikTok age of kids, that's the issue. It's so like riding that low quality line the entire time needs that fluidity. Yeah, you can have bangers that end up passing filters. Yeah, but to just be able to operate in that space, you need that freedom of mind. And like that's just it's not a possibility on some of the official channels. Is all I'm saying.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Because even if you look at Beehive, I think you could argue that Beehive sometimes it looks like he's on like a minutes restriction. When like the star player comes back and like they come back from an injury, they got to keep him. He wants to play more minutes, but you can't. They got to sit him on the bench sometimes. I'm sure there's times Beehive wants to post shit. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure there's plenty of times where old Beehive before NRG, would want to just go crazy, but you can't necessarily because, like Shyo said, there's a corporate side where there's a disconnect and they have the resources to push it to more channels than we can believe, or give the resources necessary, but there's that disconnect sometimes where things can't pass through those filters, and so it's very difficult. And you have given me a bit more hope in this conversation that it's not impossible, and it's something that we should still continue to try at. And I definitely will try it myself more now, but it is just really difficult. It is really difficult.
Yeah, it is. I've tried it. I've gone through trying to work it through official channels, and I get jaded like crazy. So it's just like
all in the hot tub.
Ball in the hot tub. What a fucking mare. What a mare.
You had an absolute night.
That was one of the worst interviews I think I ever have been a part of. Holy crap.
I realized that like I'm looking disheveled as shit in my mom's bedroom, just walking around.
Bro, were you even on that interview? Because you were supposed to get in a tub too. Like
I was in the tub. I was in the tub. Man.
No, but your shit like it didn't work or something.
Oh yeah, like my headphones weren't.
Yeah,
working.
so you didn't get put on the call.
Like...
Yeah.
I wish I could experience the days when pain didn't exist.
Oh. In second place, middle Mikey Cascas.
Oh. Oh man, I love this shit, man. Oh.
One thing I really like about the large team modes is how often like multiple wins for one team or different types of like for a set of teams can happen comparatively. Like I feel like there are distinct amount of like high ground teams, low ground teams where it's manageable, where you could number one, you could actually process that information. There are 6 low ground teams in this lobby. There are 3 high ground teams in this lobby. Type stuff where like duos and solos, to a certain extent trios is also hard. Like I still can't process how many low ground, mid ground teams we have. Yeah, the high teams are a little bit more understandable because there's just less, but I find that super interesting. I didn't fully watch the games and all that, but I have to imagine like 2 first places and the way that they're kind of playing, like 16th place, 7th place, maybe a little bit of height take extravagance, and I think it's the meta for it. I think there was so much just like, we have height, we win in this event specifically just because people haven't played squads for so long.
Yeah, that looks like those are like games where it's like they've gone for height, they've been forced to sort of drop down and they couldn't properly take it, and they sort of just play the game out. You get like a 4-4, 7, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is true. Where you haven't played a game mode for a long time, it's funny, like this always happens in FN where people literally will like forget basic fundamentals of the game. Like I remember when like they added launch pads back after a long time, and like people just forgot how to use launch pads, you know what I mean? So like, nah, that definitely does happen. And then this is a problem because like I watch or I see things about these events and like I see the excitement and hype, and you do fall into the trap of like, oh, maybe we should be playing squads now. Like imagine what squads would look like in this matter if you gave players more time. Like it's so easy to fall in that trap. So I try to separate myself from it a bit.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit more results. Commandment sent an edgy, played with cozies instead of Stretch because Stretch did not wake up for the squad cup. Okay, that happened, and they still got 4th. And it was kind of impressive, not gonna lie. I don't really know too much about cozies. I think he's just in that friend group, so that's good. Tahi, Gabe, Sprite, and Zunies played together. They were landing sweaty sands and getting contested by I Drop, Forziar, Tayson, and Nate, who only played 4 games. Was it them or was it Refsguard and them? I'm actually confused now.
Oh gosh.
There was one fight where they lost or something like that, and I was just like, uh-oh.
Well, it most likely would be Tayson, right?
But they only have one team. Oh, maybe it was in like semifinals or something. I don't fucking know. I don't really give a crap either.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, Clicks played with Day, Miro, and Reverse. Very cool.
I like Clicks with Day. They played obviously Dreamhack right with each other, and I really enjoy it. I feel like Clicks and Day have like some really nice chemistry where when I tuned into their stream when they're playing Dreamhack, like Clicks was just talking for like a whole minute and a half, and I thought Day's mic might have been muted for stream. But like it wasn't, he just knew what the fuck they were doing. Like and then at one point he just randomly starts talking. I'm like, oh, so he's been here the whole time. But like they just sort of get each other, you know. It's pretty cool. So I like seeing that.
That's interesting.
Together.
I didn't watch the stream, but I actually low-key want to watch because how toxic Clicks has been to his past teammates and duo partners, and
yeah,
like in general, like they're fucking around or whatever. That's a point where I'm out of touch myself, but I feel like Day is probably one of those guys who just like doesn't care and probably just keeps his mouth shut and frags the fuck out.
yeah. That's the vibe I get as well with him.
Is that like kind of their come up in terms of they play a lot more with each other, right? Like a lot of other Clixes or a lot of other duos or trios or teams that Clix has been on. It's like it's kind of like a transitional period where it's like now we are teaming. We're all coming from different paths, right? Like with Day, these guys like play wagers together, zone wars together. Like,
yeah, true.
They play a lot together. They're in the same circles, so it's like synergy.
Yeah, because I did always get that sort of I don't know if maybe one of you know, like it's like a complex where it's like the people Clix would play with, it almost felt like he will sort of would like little man them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, all right, do you know what I mean? Like he would sort of be like the big man and like, but I don't get that vibe when he's with Day. Like there is just sort of that mutual respect there. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. Or Bizzle placed above the Clicks. Whizzle.
Do you see the thumbnail of one of Clix's most recent videos? I found
No,
it so hilarious.
I didn't.
It was like a trio. It was like a trio Cash Cup highlight or something, and it was Bissell and Senbuga. The last thing was canceled by like the last thing was canceled by the Fortnite characters like model, and it was so funny. I think someone highlighted it on Twitter or Reddit, bro. But
I see it.
Yeah.
Here it is.
I think I saw it.
Clicks Booga right here up in the top left.
oh my god, that is just outrageous.
Bizzler sounds like, nah, he done fucked up. Like,
that's hilarious.
It was hilarious.
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
That's quality.
I don't think I have many more notes on the squad's like results, but I did want to just like in general talk about the sentiment that you have, Levin, like about like, oh, well, so you fall in this trap and whatever. Like Reset made this video. The problem with squads in competitive Fortnite. You guys can't see. Hold up. No, this isn't working. The title is the problem. How the fuck do I make this work?
Theater mode that ass. There we go.
And then game
Full
PC.
screen.
There we go.
Lord, yeah.
There we go. There we
Jesus.
go. And I don't know. I do want to get your takes on this sort of concept while we are on the topic of squads. We don't have to spend too much time on it. I just wanted to like know.
Ooh, yeah. So the vibe. I wish we had like all the points he makes like listed out so we could literally just check
Well,
them
I
off
don't
one
want to.
by
I don't
one,
want to
but-
make this a video like a section about like, oh, let's counter resub. No, that's not what I want. I just want like general takes about squads and competitive Fortnite and modes and whatnot. I think there's a good time to do it while we're literally going to talk about 3 different modes on this episode. So like, I think it's fine.
Yeah, cool. I believe, assuming beyond trios this year, we continue with trios. Who knows what happens there? But I believe that like at some point we're gonna look back at squads as being a very big missed opportunity to be like the core mode for the game. I genuinely have never really agreed with many of the criticisms of squads, and I've always tried to give counter arguments to them. There's so many. It just feel like any sort of so many of the issues that will be brought up with squads, like things like lag and things like not being able to find teammates and even other things. That to me, they've just never been issues that either A, aren't problems in other modes, or B, just aren't very solvable problems that us as a community could contribute to making better. And so I do feel like there will be a stage where people will just be like, damn, squads would have been really, really good to just be like the main mode, especially when we have like small little cups like this where people are clearly enjoying squads. Like it will just sort of feed into that more.
I feel like it's more so dependent on the taste you want out of the game. Like squads really just changes up a lot about how the game is like played, watched, and like received. I'm just thinking about like battle royales in general when you start adding more players. Like the only experience I have in the topic is like looking at the way PUBG's kind of played with like an entire squads type dynamic. And it's the same thing with like Fortnite when it comes to squads versus trios. It's like it is a lot more positional. It's a lot more centered around teamwork. And if that's what like people really want to hone in on and focus on, squads would be the wave. And as a mode, does it the best. But when it comes to like individual flair, I know there's also pop offs in squads as well. But like giving people room to be a little bit more malleable, a little bit more like all-star potential to come through. I feel like trios is still the best mode that we're operating on. Squads does a lot of things better, but also kind of like, I don't know what the word is. Is it suppress? Not oppress, but like kind of brainwashes a lot of other factors of the game away because there's so much more organized things going on at the same time. it adds a lot, but it also just like takes a lot of stuff away from the game, which I feel like is
it's funny because like
good right now in trios.
Because like I think that's a battle royale issue more so than anything else. Because like when you think of other games, those factors that you're talking about are oftentimes, even when there's five teammates, are oftentimes the most focused on. Like you think about CS and whatnot, it's like teamwork is non-existent in the discussion normally, right? Communication also non-existent. It's usually he got +7 frags over deaths. Like his FPR is insane. His headshot ratio is nasty. You know, so like all that individuality is actually almost more pronounced in those games. Well, obviously there's only team modes to play, but like I think because the way that you are able to highlight that in this game is so underdeveloped, like I couldn't tell you who the top fragger on this squad is, the Scented Edgy Commandment stretch squad. I couldn't tell you because that information just doesn't exist. Unless you're like Prodigy Analytics or Kinch Analytics and you guys like you're deep in the APIs and shit. Like I couldn't tell you how often Edgy is last alive clutching up by himself and any of this stuff. There is no way to follow the individuality of certain players outside of literally just VOD reviewing a team in depth, crazy, and that's impossible to do for 25 teams or 33 teams. So it makes it easier when it's solos or duos, because the individuality is the only thing. You know what I'm talking about? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's the aspect of a lack of individuality. Football has 11 players, or it has 22 players on the pitch. People are always just talking about individuals. It's the same with sports. It's the same with games as well. Like that is more so like a battle BR problem. I would agree with that. But like when people always bring up the point of like, it's so hard to sort of understand that and follow that. Yeah, that's down to the viewing experience. Even if you watch like Zone Wars tournaments, right? In Zone Wars tournaments where there's just not even a full battle royale lobby of people, it's just like, 2 sets of 4 or whatever. You see times when like observers stuff, like people don't know who to follow, right? You don't know who to watch, right? But like that evolves, that gets better, right? If there were more regular Zone Wars tournaments and better critique on, obs and all of these kind of things, eventually you get to a stage where, obs gets really good at observing, these sort of 4v4 scenarios. You start to apply that to BR, right? It evolves over time. It started out really, really bad in Fortnite. And even that point you make, Barlow, of like, you don't know who the best frag, that has always been my biggest issue with FN. Like, I hate the fact that I don't even know how to this day people do sort of measure individuality so much, because you see it still. You do see it. People talk about certain trios and be like, well, yeah, he's the carry, he's way better. Where are you getting that from? I want to know, because I do want to actually know, because where are you getting that from? That doesn't necessarily exist. And it could be a thing. Like I remember I tried to like, get people to give me like damage ratio, right? Like who's doing the most damage, taking least damage, dividing that, whatever, and you could actually sort of see correlations with certain trios, right? Like when Tayson was playing last season with iDrop and Savage, he had the highest damage ratio, and it made sense because when you watched them, he was genuinely the most sort of like entertaining player to watch. He's always the one getting the most kills. So these things are out there. It's just no one putting them in a central place. We don't have a HLT. We don't have a VLR.gg. We don't have a, basketball reference. We don't have any of these things. And so you literally can't measure, Fortnite Tracker doesn't give you anything. Do you know what I mean? So those are places where that kind of thing needs to improve. And even including on those websites, maybe you now have a place where you have a forum where you can find teams and you match teams up and you can find people with a similar skill level. There's so much that just isn't done in this game. And we just ignore all of it and go, it's squads that's the problem. Like, no, there's just shit that's just not being done.
Yeah.
Do shit.
Yeah. I still feel like you can analyze it on like a base level of like just the BR genre and like see that there are definite differences between playing trios and squads. Like in terms of like even if the viewing experience was better, it'd be harder to track. For me, like when you're playing squads, it's like adding an extra lane in League. Like that's the switch up. In terms
but that's
of like,
not fair. I don't know nothing about leagues. So I can't even go back on you on that one. Like I can't even
fine,
be
but
like...
it's like you're talking about like, I understand like in football and stuff, 11 players per team. You're watching them over 90 minutes. You get to see a lot of that individuality pop out here or there. In a BR, like anything can happen at any moment. A fight is taken at like obviously a different pace, but a fight is still a fight within the 25-minute format. And now you're adding an extra player as well. and now that extra players on every team as well on the server,
yeah, but
it changes up a lot,
dude. Like the thing I'll say about that is that, especially when it comes to early game and mid game, end game, I give you the point a little bit, but in early game and mid game, guess what? There's a fight breaking out. Oh, it's actually the only fight on the map to watch right now because there's so many less entities. Like, there are unique moments that come out with squads 100%. As well, where that gets easier in a sense.
Yeah,
much easier.
No, and adding an extra lane in League or adding an extra site to a diffusal game mode, right? It will come with positives. It will come with certain things that make it more fun to watch. But I think as a whole, right, it definitely changes the flavor of the game. Like, it definitely switches things. I hope you can bounce off of that one a little bit, Levin, in terms of, like, you know, making a reference to like a diffusal type game mode where you have an extra site, or like you have like I'm thinking about just other games. Like,
that's static, so I wouldn't even say that. Like an extra stat.
Like in football, if you added an extra net, like, I don't know, like if you had like a third team playing, maybe that's the reference I'm trying to make. Like, it changes the default, like what you have to look at while you're playing and the circumstances people arise into, and like the way they attack the game. Like, those are the differences between like squads and other modes.
Okay, I sort of get where you might be getting at here with that. The thing is that I will say is, one, I know I have a bias because what made me fall in love with the game was watching, like, you know, streamer highlights, squad scrims, and people like 4v4, like we literally would have like 4v4v4 build fights, and I still feel like I could track that. Maybe we need to get the streamer highlights guy to like figure out how are you observing shit, because you guys watch that shit, right? No, but you guys remember you watched that shit. I felt like I knew what I was following. Like I felt like I could understand it. So dude, I don't know where that sort of disappeared.
The first actual, like, I think, okay, I watched Ninja Vegas. That was like my first actual comp event, and then I watched an EU, like, because they had customs back then. I watched an EU squads tournament. That shit was laggy as fuck because the entire game was laggy as fuck back then. But like, I was like, holy fuck, like, this is so interesting. And I was watching from stream perspective, and it was like only streamers. We didn't have an ops mode and shit like that. But like, I could tell the depth of the positioning, everything, like people messing up, and I don't know. There was it is kind of, I don't want to say it's how I fell in love because it's not, but I already got a large appreciation. Every single squad event that has been serious, I have loved. From those first, like, I don't know what the fuck they were called, the French custom, like, scene, whatever.
Pan-European Cup and all
Pan-European Cup, that was it. Yep.
Duos,
yep.
No, but that was duos.
Okay, well, whatever.
Like it was still like
from that to like Microsoft Cup that I participated in, to some of the other stuff like that they've played in overall. Like, yeah, it always. I think one of the biggest downfalls is that it always comes with this concept of lag. It's so laggy. It's because that's how everybody thought the game was going to be played at the time. So they all tried to play in those customs, and it was just laggy. Because the game was so laggy back then, where literally any mode would have had the same impact. Although squads definitely to a bigger extent, just because of the way that the game was played. But I bet you if you inserted the way that we played, I mean, fucking. The first skirmish week had the same issue, so never mind. Maybe I'm making my own point less valid. I think it's been plagued by that. To this day, it still has this idea that squads is laggier than everything else. But I think over time we've kind of seen that it really doesn't matter what mode you're playing. We've seen laggy solos events, the Elite Cup. We've seen laggy duos events. Remember the preseason before FNCS duos. You remember that shit. We've going back even further than that. All the skirmish events. We've seen laggy trios events. Elite Cup. We've like Elite Cup and every other fucking laggy trio event ever as well. It's just then they released the Squads Cup where, for whatever reason, the opens and semis are completely like just rot with lag issues. Everybody's like, it's so laggy, and nobody knows. They attribute it. It's the same situation where it's like there's no individuality, and they blame it on squads, but the real idea is that there's no viewing experience and there's no tools to be able to see the individuality. And it's the same thing, right? Because they don't know what to blame, so they blame the mode rather than the other issues that are causing the real issue. Like, it's not the root of the issue. So that has always plagued it. Always.
I think it changes the flavor, Shyo, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think the flavor always will just change. The flavor changes based off of like the changes Epic makes at the actual game in terms of what items in the
No,
game or the way the
100%, yeah.
POIs work. So like I don't think the fact that like the flavor's different is that big of a thing. I think if that's where we've gotten to in that conversation, and it's like, well, then we should demand Epic keep everything about the game the same, so that
No, it's
there's
not
no
that.
flavor
It's just
changes
that is
season to
the
season.
biggest flavor change. Like that's like going from like different flavors of vanilla to something completely different entirely. Like wow, another one popped up. True. Like I've seen this tweet before, bro. I'm having deja vu.
You see it
from
all
Timmy
the
as well, bro. Like I'm
time.
not even gonna lie. I think Vala had the same. How old is this?
Yeah,
No, this
yeah,
is like last week. Like
I swear you've had this exact response to someone, Vala.
no. I don't think I've ever had this response to somebody actually. But this is my next point. Like, does it really actually make a difference? Like moving from trios to squads. Let's just leave it at that. From trios to squads. Does all the aspects really make that much of a difference? Going from trios to duos, especially when it comes to like this boring aspect or whatever. Or yes, it makes a difference, but like to me, it's incremental. Like it's not like major at all. Maybe squads is on the high end of like, oh shit, that changes a lot. But regular enjoyment on a scale, like not these individual things, on a scale, like I really don't give a fuck what duos to trio, at least the community in my mind doesn't really like latch on to these massive differences. I think they'll have and this is why we continue to have these, well, we should go to trios, no, well, we should go to squads, no, well, we should go to duos, because to them it's literally incremental changes that they're getting.
No, they're just looking for something more fresh. That's not going to be something that's going to, ruin the game in terms of a weapon, this or that. Like the other thing I'm thinking about is like player experience as well. When it comes to people trying to find teammates, when it comes to people trying to just organize certain types of games, like trios, squads to duos works very, very different in terms of like snake season, in terms of like how you practice, who you surround yourself with. There's a big change, and especially like duos to bigger game modes, as well. I feel like there is a big difference in just like the atmosphere you're playing in, like the decisions you have to make in game from trios to squads. And I feel like the reason, like just to address like Timmy's point of is it boring, this or that, we were kind of grown up on the fact that every season would be different, right? Like people basically got addicted to that kind of. It's like when they put Coke in Coca-Cola, and like they took it out, and it's like this is Coca-Cola now. You know what I mean? And like it's not that the Coca-Cola is bad, so to speak, but people were literally crack addicts, man. Like they were used to one season would be solos, the next season was so fresh because things were so different when it became duos. And wow, we got trios this season, and we're going back to solos. And then as soon as they took the crack out of the Coke, remember when we had Invitational to another solo FNCS, to another solos, like back to back to back, like that, like people were like, whoa, where's my crack, bro? Well,
that's single-handedly the reason why we lost Dreamhack solos, because we had 2 solos back to back to back. So people are like, oh yeah, I'm tired of our Dreamhack solos. Let's make it duos now. Like people just will always be like that.
I feel like that was an issue in terms of just like, Dreamhack solos to start were sick because it was like a brand new thing. It was dope. But then it was like kind of the same every month at a high frequency. I feel like that was the issue. Wouldn't matter what mode it was, even if it was like duos. Like the fact that we were in 6 months running through 6 of them.
Yeah,
that's a separate conversation entirely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying on top of the fact that we had the 2 back-to-back FNCS solos as well, so it's like you couldn't get away from solos. Yeah,
I'm just saying the community was raised on the fact that the mode would switch every time, and that was one of the biggest things about the new season. It went from having a certain type of arena to a completely different one where your comms would have to be different, the setups for your fights would have to be different. You might not even be conscious of it, but you were playing a different game the entire time. And it might not even seem like a big difference, but it was a big difference in the way you approach the game. And then now we're kind of leaning on consistency, which helps integrity, but it takes away the crack. Like that's the issue. You know what I mean? And is it a bad thing to go back to the switchy thing? Is it that big of a deal?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is.
I think it is. Yeah, 100%.
I think the best thing that has happened in the last little while has been the consistent modes. I don't know if we're gonna get the rewards of that soon or what, but being able to follow it's actually crazy how much easier it is to understand and to make these narratives and to start working on those sort of content pieces that we were talking about before in the earlier segment. Like all of that stuff becomes so much more digestible, and you always know what's coming next. You always know that this is what you need to be working at. You don't know, we used to wake up at the end of a FNCS season and be like, shit, do I keep playing? What do I do? Do I keep playing squads? Do I keep VODing squad? Like, what's next?
Yeah.
Should I break up with my squad just to start practicing solos? Like, we used to do that completely unknown for months. We wouldn't have an announcement. And now we always know it's gonna be trios for the next 2 seasons or whatnot. All of that adds up that surprise so much, so much to health, to mental, to like stability. All of that stuff is so good, like insanely good, way better than all the benefits you get from the unhealthy crack. You know?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like the lack of that surprise, the lack of the hit, the lack of that switch up, right?
Jesus Christ, we gotta drop this analogy right the fuck now.
Please.
Like, holy crap, man.
I'm just saying that people have like withdrawal symptoms. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's not the worst analogy, guys.
It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's a very good analogy, but it's just bad for this room.
True. Yeah.
I get your point, and honestly, I'm using it as all that stuff was bad for the game. Everything that we want back right now was bad for our esports scene. So that this is good. Now I have a question though, and I have a feeling I'm leaning towards a specific answer. Do you guys think that this consistent mode will eventually fail?
No. The reason it's boring right now is because we don't have, and I think we've said that so many times on this episode more than others, is we just don't have like the LAN aspect. Like that's gonna elevate. Like we have nothing to really. Like it shouldn't even be a conversation topic. I feel like that stuff is boring, blah blah blah. But like we're here right now because like the competition can't get to its peak stage yet. Like there's limitations due to what's going on in the world. Like once we're back operating on like maximum efficiency, like when LANs are back and stuff, like this won't matter. Like this won't even be a conversation topic. There'll be other things to talk about.
That's only going to be a thing though if LANs are actually brought back in a meaningful way. Like the only LAN series we had, or not even like a LAN series, but like the only sort of time we had qualifiers that led up to a LAN that was sort of like open to people in the format that we have now, similar with FNCS, was World Cup, right? Like even with back in the day with the like TwitchCon stuff, right? Or like with Skirmish, that was still like sort of invite based, right? And it's like if people know that coming out of COVID, there are going to be LANs they're going to be online events that we play similar to sort of what FNCS is, that will lead to you guys eventually playing in LANs, then I think that would sort of help. That's sort of like, that's almost like what I was talking about way earlier with like the World Cups around the corner. Like people would be excited for that kind of thing, but that doesn't exist right now.
Yeah, but the other substitution is you drop one FNCS from the year, right? And you make FNCS finals LANs. You make the qualifying track a little bit longer to it or whatnot, right? And then you have like a regional so supported like LAN type beat that just looks like so much fun to follow. You keep like some of the remote aspects, like because I feel like remote is something that every esport should just like use in general. Like it's we've seen like so far right now there's so much potential for it to like be able to be a little bit more accessible, like in terms of people coming through to cast, like productions being able to be put on at cheaper rates and whatnot. But like you keep stuff remote until like the finals, and then the finals is like that LAN, and then like like it's lit. You have like regional LANs for like for multiple reasons. That hypes shit up.
Yeah, I think that helps me, but I do think it's gonna fail, and that hurts the shit out of me. Why?
Really?
Why do I think it's gonna fail? Because I genuinely don't think I've seen one outside of like the people who obviously the people who understand, but I don't think the community has gotten a large scale understanding of why consistent modes are necessary. And I think that because of that, Epic will renege and go back to
see,
because we're not even going to get the land part until
but this
2022.
is where I feel like the stuff that's been hurting us most of the time, right? Like Epic will do something because it's like we want to follow through with this or whatnot, right? Like the double down on the brute type beat, like certain stuff coming out, like sometimes mythic staying in the game, like the 5 week staying in. I feel like Epic is on a track where they're just like we're sticking to trios. Like this is no like background, what is it, backseat, there's no backstage knowledge or anything.
Every time Epic have been resistant, it results in hashtag rip Fortnite endlessly and people just cry and cry.
This resistance, I feel like there's no need for a switch. Like no matter what the community will say, I don't think it'll matter to Epic. Like they'll just roll with it. Because look at all these other sprinkles. Like if Dreamhack is going to be land based as well, right? No, like I'm not like if they did it for Dreamhack, I feel like that's fine.
Switch solos to duos. Fine.
Yeah, they would just do the same thing with FNCS.
I don't think they'll do it to FNCS. I don't think there's a need.
There wasn't a need. Well, I don't think there was a need. I
think it'll be based off of data. I think it'll be based off of data, but like, I'm scared that all the like random other events will be like enough for that, and potentially not like massive growth on and to be honest, the season has been kind of underwhelming in terms of growth. I think it's been like one of the most exciting seasons to watch, but like I don't think the community has gotten there, and I don't think that casual appeal has gotten there either. Like the broad audience is not watching this season as much as they were last season, and that might be a meta thing, that might be whatever, but I think all of that does affect how not only the community is perceiving trios and being a consistent mode, but also Epic more so.
Isn't it like, I don't know. It's just like over time, I definitely agree. Like I 100% think next like chapter to chapter, there will be mode changes. There's a definite potential for mode changes.
Well, there you go.
Chapter to chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. I'm on board with that.
You like that? No, that breaks everything.
Like that. I think it was like a spider on the
I think that breaks everything.
It's not that I like that. It's just I can see that 100% happening, and I agree that I think I just flip flopped on my entire opinion. But
you think it's coming? Yeah, I think it's coming.
I think it's definitely coming.
I think it's coming too. I'm afraid. I think if that happens, I don't know what to do. Because imagine having full chapter. We half the chapter we were messing around with all the different modes. Half the chapter we're gonna be in trios. Next chapter, it's like duos or something the entire time, and then we switch again, huh?
Let me flip flop back. So like when I said the lands will save it, right? Like if this entire chapter is trios, and then let's say the next chapter there's a potential for lands and whatnot, right? Like they would rock with what has worked the last year. There wouldn't be sense in changing things. You'd still be going through with trios. The new added flavor to not switch modes would be, yo, we're going land. You know what I mean? So that's where it's saved.
It's never been a trio land, has there?
No. It's been solo duos. And
there really hasn't been a duos land too.
Yeah, duos World Cup did not exist.
Duos TwitchCon didn't exist, and duos fucking everything else.
There was a trios land at TwitchCon.
Yeah.
But that was once again
like the celebrity thing.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't celebrity.
Like,
it was
first come, first serve sign up type beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, okay, so it was
I remember there was
content creators got invited. It was Benji played with I don't remember the exact teams, but there was always a non-pro player on the team. There's always like a Tim the Tatman or Nick Merckx.
Really?
Yes.
Because for the
I casted it. It was actually the most lit LAN event, by the way.
Yeah. Because 2019, it was just like maybe there was like
you were there, Shyo. What the fuck?
I know. That's why I'm arguing about this, man. That's why I'm arguing about this. Because Connor, Letshe, and someone else just signed up, and there was no content creator on that team.
Well, what? Well, it was streamers, right? There was an open like route. There was the open heats or whatever.
Nah, it was just signups. They just signed up and they went to San Diego.
It was mixed. It was mixed. You're right. It was mixed. There was an open signups area, but it had to be Twitch partners and whatnot. And then there was The content
It
creator
didn't?
teams that got rolled in. Yes, and there was. How the fuck did Nick Merckx in 72 hours get there?
No, I'm
They
saying
didn't go
no,
through the
as in
opens.
like it's not like the signups one wasn't dedicated to partners only. Like it was dead ass open signups. First come, first serve.
No, it wasn't.
Maybe there was a caveat, but like
Yeah,
I just
there was
remember,
many
like,
caveats. There was many caveats.
Okay, true.
Yeah.
True. I regress. Digress, whatever.
I digress.
Let's talk about, because we were on the topic of like, you know, LAN type potential and whatnot. Let's look at Dreamhack duos real quick from this week and how things went down. Supposedly the best game 6 ever seen.
Oh,
Dreamhack
who
duos.
said that?
I
You
think
said
it was
that.
like Dreamhack's Twitter.
Oh, really?
I saw that general reaction on Twitter from like the official sources. Like, this is insane. It's like DGen, like I think I saw it from Monster D-Face. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, he casted it. So yeah.
I might be putting some slander somewhere. You know, it's just another Thursday.
Another Thursday. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Okay,
Agent
so
Agers.
this was it was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool game 6. Because DGen and Agers were behind Commandment and Scented, and they were second place for most of the day, and they come through head to head, like 5 points or something like that. DGen and Agers end up like box diving someone. They get one. They like trade. They get one kill. Agers dies. DGen has a solo. Scented and Commandment or Scented and Commandment are still alive, like low ground, whatever. They're not really fragging. They're just trying to stay alive as long as possible. And many times DGen like gets close to the wall, and there's like many like, oh shit, like they're gonna actually go for each other. And then, well, I'll just show it. Like, and then eventually, there's another team that box dives, and DGen like gets in there and gets a kill on I think it was the team that box dived them, but Scented and Commandment both die, and DGen had gotten enough kills, and he got one more placement than them, so they end up winning. Shit, that was loud. So it was lit. It was actually really cool. I think the rest of the tournament was fairly boring. I'm not gonna lie.
What else was cool? There was Zaki and Chucky choked a 2v1. That was pretty embarrassing.
There was a lot of 1v2s actually, like endgame.
Yeah.
The Chucky one was
really
more. It was definitely worse.
It was, and the thing is, the Dreamhack account like posted it, and you just have Chuck. I think it was I can't remember. I think it was Zaki or whatever. He just like is replying to it like deletes, please deletes. Like it was bad, but it was like funny. It was comical, right?
There was also Booga and Bizzle choked. It was a 2v1v1. Basically, who was it? The EU guy who was landing sweaty as well. I forgot their name right now. Irazumi and Safik. I think it was Safik is a solo, and who's the other guy? I think it was one of DGen and Agers was also a solo, or maybe it was Commandment Ascended or Acorn and Jack. Either way, Booga and Bizzle have high ground, and I'll show it in a moment here. They have high ground, and they end up getting fought by one of the solos. He realizes like, oh, that other guy's a solo. I don't want to fuck with him. He goes up, fights Booga and Bizzle, gets a shit ton of damage. Oh, it was Day. He gets a shit ton of damage done. Or Mirror, I don't fucking know. He gets a shit ton of damage done on them. They end up like getting messed up. Bizzle's really low. It ends up being a 2v1. Bizzle goes down to zone. Safik just jumps up and gets the last kill, but you could consider it a 1v2 as well. EU versus NA. So it was cool. I mean, there was a lot of interesting moments, but overall, like I did not enjoy the mid games, the early games, the fights that were breaking out. There was a 3-way contest at Sweaty Sands. What?
I'm sorry, you just like, yeah, it was pretty cool, but I did enjoy the mid game, the early game, the end game, didn't enjoy it at all. Like, that's just what I heard.
Yeah, it was just, you know, it was what it was. I did think the level was not as high, which makes sense. We haven't played duos for 2 months, like on a grand final scale type beat. So,
is this a new frequency, by the way, for like Dreamhack Opens? This is like once every.
I think it's once every
2
season,
months,
right?
Oh, I guess once every 3 months then, or close to 4.
Yeah, I think it's the extra cash cups and then the whatever. Okay, let me show the clutch moments and we'll move on to EU real quick. That's where
Alright.
the moment, like, we just missed it right there. Cool. Fuck. Is there even a point?
No.
By the way, Commandment and Scented were doing this medkit thing. This is obviously not the point, but like I think this might come into effect in trios towards the end. They were doing this medkit thing where Night Zone, they off heal every game. I don't know who was doing it, but every game they would get like 2 extra placements and impactful placements too. Like, watch, here you go. Commandment, it's 3 teams alive. Night Zone on the mountain. He's not going to be able to get up. He has 0 mats, and he just medkits. And, well, he gets griefed by Night. But he got second place on it one time and ended up losing the game. But, like, that will be even better in trios because there will be more solos alive at that point that will die while he's taking the 10 seconds.
So do you know why this is actually really perfect for people who listen to multiple like episodes? Remember last week when we were talking about Cammy and I talked about how last season like they had the win condition of fish, and so it meant that some of their 6th places would look like 3rd places, right? Because if anything just went wrong, they would sort of do things like this where they go into zone with their floppers and off heal. Like that's what that looks like to me, right?
Yeah.
Where like you are able to just get a couple extra sort of places of crucial placement for that reason. And that's actually really cool if they do start to do that in trios as well.
It was funny because I think first week of trios I had a note. I don't think I mentioned it on the pod, but so many NAE trios fucked up their medkits. It was so funny.
Yeah,
you remember that, right? It was like literally like 4 different teams in the first like 3 games just
really bad.
Completely messed up their medkits.
Dude, I thought I had like, cause sometimes like in between like EU and NA West, I just leave it on audio only, right? Like on very low. I thought I had the thing looped because it was like every 20 minutes, and he fails the med kit again, and I was like, what is going on? Like,
oh my God. Here's the 1v2 from Neon against Chucky and Zucky. Again, a 2v1v1. Nosh is alive against his teammate on height in trios. He takes him out. Neon kills them both. And then, or Neon kills the solo, and then 1v2s. Like,
oh God.
Yeah, this was shocking.
He's 32.
Like, this was shocking. How they don't win this is just like, what is happening here?
The siphon.
Like, what is happening here? Like,
this looks
this
like that fight. Like, there's always a fight for me whenever I play this game anymore. It's always like 3 people jumping on me. I'm a solo trying to get away from them. I'm like, fuck, Jesus Christ. Like that's how I felt that this fight was going down. They just can't track.
Judgment, man.
Huh?
That was woeful.
Oof.
Yeah. EU semis though.
Yeah, because what is it? EU Grands is happening today, right?
But yeah, I gotta keep this express. I realize that casters have call times.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you're cool time soon, bro. You gonna?
Isn't it 12?
We're chilling.
Yeah,
it's 12. Yeah, we're fine.
How long?
An hour and 10.
I gotta switch over to EU.
Okay, cool.
Semi-finals. This is the one that
we really don't have to talk about this for a long time because it's just semifinals, just matchmaking format. But basically, who qualified? I think we have a very you guys are lucky today. This is going to be a very stacked grand final. I don't know if it'll end up being good, but like we have Janice, Xweez, we have Hen, Chapix, Floki, Deciptos, like a lot of the teams that are actually trios as well. Like it's not some weird like day and click situation. It is for real. Seti and Teak, like Benji and Savage, but an Acorn and Jack Quad. Let's go.
Yeah, they're gonna be contesting Kiriachi at Slurpee, right? I think, or they're contesting a very good Slurpee team.
Yeah, they will be.
Yeah.
It's actually not as good as I thought it was. There's no Noah Riley and Vidal.
Yeah, those guys didn't do too great.
I saw a clip on Twitter last of what happened to them, but they just basically there was hold on, I'll pull it up because it is fucking hilarious.
Who's Quinton?
You don't remember Quinton, World Cup qualifier?
World Cup call, Lenuf and Quinton.
No.
It's from the Netherlands.
Why does this seem like the first time of
infamously spent all of his money on something that people like to do in the Netherlands.
Okay.
We are
That's
terrible
This
with these
episode's
references right now.
are going off,
Yeah,
off the
Jesus
chain, man.
Christ.
What? Dude, that's like how people know him now.
Here's what happened. This man chilling inside of a Sweaty Sands house. It's fifth zone rotate outside of zone.
Oh God.
And
Oh.
That is the funniest switch.
He's on his knees. He's on his knees.
In the arms of an angel. Dude, that is rough.
But yeah,
That is rough.
so grand finals are today. Expect that. We'll talk about it. We probably won't talk about it next week because we'll have heats to go over. So
Yeah.
unlucky.
Yeah.
Timing.
Past that, Cash Cup also happened this week in EU
And NA.
and
But
NA.
here's the
But here's the. Let me roll it up.
The crazy part about, like, I was putting a little bit of stock towards the beginning of the season with Cash Cup because number one, it was the only information we had, and number two, it was actually important to pay attention to like how people performed in open sessions and stuff like that because of the fact that they needed to call for round 4. But at this point, I literally don't give a fuck that 4ZR, Tayson, and Nate won. Because
that was the question I was gonna ask too.
They should have done this. They should have qualified for round 4 if they're gonna have performances like this. Like, so what happened? Like, so what happened? I still have so many doubts about that trio.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks though. I feel like a lot of the things we're gonna end up saying about like trios like that, it will be similar to the stuff that was in the Heat preview anyway. So like I'll sort of save it. But yeah, nothing at this stage, like you're literally right. Like at this stage now, in terms of trying to make this relevant to things happening in FNCS, there isn't a way because it just isn't anymore.
Yeah, this is what their second Cash Cup win. So okay, cool. For the season, I'm pretty sure. Very nice. Yeah, so NA East.
Let's check it out.
There was a surprising lack of other top teams in that top 10.
Yeah, definitely.
Like no O'Reilly, McGill, Reason, no Benji, Fishy, Matzo, Amplify, like none of that. There was a surprising lack of that. But maybe they're all focused on Heats. And I do want to say, go watch the Heats preview for EU. We already put it out. We're going to do the NA East one soon. But yeah, that's where we really cover Heats, 4ZR, Tayson, and Nate, who have a struggle to get there. Yeah. This was different. Look at the top 4. Holy moly.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen Bucky, Kanata, and Macwood at all this season, really. Except maybe
they've been
Cash
in and
Cup
around
Extra.
Cash Cup Extra. They were in and around Cash Cup Extra. Obviously, we saw them in like duos, like Kanada and Macwood yesterday, and Dreamhack and Bucky was playing with Creo. But they've not been like gone. I feel like.
Yeah. I'm not sure it was this Cash Cup or like Dreamhack that made Kanata now second behind Macwood for highest earned.
Oh really?
Wow.
Yeah, I think I saw Macwood's tweet about it. I'm gonna try to see if that's valid or whatnot. Maybe
earnings
the season, I think it's in
leaderboards.
total.
He's third behind
so
Calc
close.
on
Calc is
online.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Online earnings. Ugh.
Onliners.
Shameful.
Onliners.
Look at the got like money taken away because
look at the greatest of all time.
$20 ahead of Calc in terms of when Macwood posted the picture. But it's interesting. These guys are just like popping.
Imagine having all that money and still not being better than Zextra. That's crazy.
Oh my god.
Clicks Book of Bizzle, yeah, whatever. Commandment sent an edgy because we haven't seen these guys all season. This is just very good news for anybody.
Yeah, at least they're
for
feeling
them.
it. Yeah.
Ooh, little God trio right here.
That is
Look,
actually
God
God
trio.
trio. Holy wait, that is the trio that going into last FNCS people would have said were the top 3 players, and actually man, because you would have put Chapix in there maybe because of his like solo stuff. But yeah, like that's like a top 3 players in the EU type trio. Like that's crazy.
That's the Infinity Gauntlet type beat. You know what I'm saying?
That is actually Infinity Gauntlet type beat.
Jesus
We're down,
Christ.
1 to go. Like,
And it's funny because considering how like the scene is, we don't actually get that as much as you'd think. Like where like people just sort of just play with each other willy-nilly. Like we don't actually get like the people who are considered like the three best players, all three of them just like playing with each other, I feel like.
Yeah, the God Squads.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens. I don't think we've ever seen, to be honest, like no. Honestly, Thomas
like
and
with-
Austin Flick at the time that they were formed, and Thomas HD and Tayson going to duos, that shit was like, oh, mind bending. Like,
well,
what the fuck?
that's but I feel like it's a lot like for duos. Yeah, when Thomas and Tayson played with duos, I was someone who believed they were the two best players. So yeah, like that would be
Mongo
one.
Mitro Benji when it first came out, like.
I was gonna say Mongo Mitro Tayson because a lot of like people's rankings at the end of that season was like Mongo Mitro, like, you know, in the top 3 best players in order, and like Tayson first. So I guess that would be one. But like,
Yeah,
it's funny how seems like so long ago, but yeah.
I think NA is much closer in terms of top players. Like
More parity.
Yeah, slightly more parity. Where I don't like Clicks, Booga, and Bizzle. Like if they formed when I was paying attention, I think I would have been freaking out, but not to the level of some of the other stuff. Anyways, done with Cash Cup, Mr. Shyo Wager?
Yes, I'm done with Cash Cup. I want to talk about the last thing of the day, which is drop spots for the people who've already just qualified 3 weeks. Just before all the extra boys come rolling in and the reboot round pop offers.
Do you ever drop some map with them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this.
I was actually excited for this. Yeah, this is gonna be sick. Yeah.
Where to start?
The one thing I wasn't expecting, and I'm kind of caught off guard by it, is just like this is just where people qualified from. Like, I just want to be clear first. Is this where people qualified from, or where they're allegedly going now
Both.
in the grand finals?
Yeah. If there's
Both
information.
kind of,
yeah.
Yeah. I just wasn't expecting people who've already qualified early to have. I was ready to have nothing contesting. With the one thing I see is Misty Meadows, which I think is a big conversation topic.
Yeah, I don't know if it is, because this for Strokey, Ardit, Pizza. They actually do look pretty different from when it was Ardit, Pizza, and Artox. Was that the third? I'm pretty sure that was the third. Anyway, yeah. Back then they like were a team that would like disengage from Misty, like they'd split it with a different team and like they'd disengage. I could see that. With the Strokey though, they do have a bit of spice, you know what I mean? And so there's a chance,
disengaging, man. Like,
you know what I mean? Yeah, there's a chance that that's just a fight that happens. I was more surprised by Coral Castle.
Oh,
They
wow.
And I guess like
they called through Craggy is why we're surprised here.
Well, yeah, they called through Craggy, and I didn't expect them to stay at Craggy, but like you have so many spots on the map that are available. Why not like just gamble and like Anderlex's team don't qual, so you just say, oh yeah, we're going Catty by the way, so if you're gonna qual, you're gonna have to come through us. Like, why don't you just try Alpha up? Like Coral is always that like, I don't want to say this, I feel bad saying this, but it's just like the sort of like the bitch spot, like, oh, we have nowhere to go, let's just go Coral. Do you know what I mean? Like, but there's spots like, why didn't, well, to be fair, another thing I will say as well, with Nikov, Blast, and Alpha, their playstyle is very sort of distinct to where I actually do think wherever they go, they have to be in this north outer part of the map. And I think that's why they will be looking at Coral as we can still play our playstyle from Coral. And so in fact, maybe it isn't as bad. Like, because you could say, oh, why didn't you go Retail? Why didn't you go Weep? But that would sort of change in the way they play the game. But still, like, it's weird to me. Like,
yeah, their paths are still like some of their surge paths, some of their loop paths, some of their rotation for position is still available up here. And they've been landing. I mean, Nikov has been landing Risky, Blaster and Alpha. I mean, actually, this trio was landing over in Stark Island for a while. They went to Craggy. Like, all this area, they've kind of had somewhat experience. So being up still northwest is probably okay for them. But yeah, I agree. I think it's slightly underwhelming. I honestly thought that they would try to take, like, part of the D-Gen Agers and that split up here.
Yeah, I think Orchid and splitting that sort of area is way better than Coral. Yeah.
Maybe gambling on Coral zones. EU has this weird thing with zones, man, where it just like repeats. Like, I feel so bad for Kinzone once again. Like,
bro, if it's the first game of finals, will determine the rest of the game. Like if it's a southeast zone in the first game of finals, the rest of the day will be southeast. Yeah, it
It's
literally will be like
crazy,
that.
man. Like, I think the biggest question marks that are left on the map is like, do we truly see someone contesting Thomas at Dirty Docks?
Yes.
Like, will it's Michael Max and Verox coming through there?
Or
will they switch up?
Wolfies and Slender.
Wolfies and Slender were landing retail, and I think they just didn't want to contest in the last chance they had to auto qual, right? And so I think if they make it to finals, I feel like they'll go. Well, back to retail.
They're landing Steamy and Heats, no?
Yeah, so like, I feel like they are just a trio that is like, we will just qual through a spot, or we will use a spot that gives us the best chance to qual. But I do think their inherent spot is like retail.
So Thomas and Austin Flick, all eyes on Michael, Mexi, and Verox, basically.
Yeah, but they've shown last season that they'll just leave. They've shown that they just don't want it with Thomas, and rightfully so. So they might just end up going like Spire and
still
like
strong.
And then we've seen how strong Thomas and Austin Flick are when like if they get pissed and even lose at Dirty, they can go anywhere and just fuck shit up. So
I love that. I love that. If they get pissed, it's just
don't forget there is a possibility of both Caddy Corner not having a marquee name coming out and playing Caddy, and also Sweaty Sands out of Heats. Like these are two big question marks right now for Caddy and Sweaty. Like if they stay open in terms of marquee names, that would be crazy.
Yeah. That's I think one of the reasons also I was looking at Nikov Blaster Alpha pick and Coral. This is they kind of have confidence that there's not going to be a big threat at Sweaty, or tagging along with them if there are Southern type rotations, as EU loves to see.
Yeah.
But that's one thing. My other question is like, who's going to be kind of in between Fremont and Kuriachi? Who's going to pick up like that little split down below? And then
who's getting W keyed by Russians is basically your question.
Well, I think I'd expect Trilex and Juriki to qual, and so I'd expect them to go to like that split there, right? Like
they're not going to be touched though, right? They're going to be chilling, but that left team kind of decides what happens at Holly and like how early game weird fight looks if Kuriachi falls behind.
Yeah,
then,
I'd also say the Misty congestion right now could cause Queasy and Trilex and Juriki to struggle a little bit. Already a strong team on their left. Already potentially two, maybe more in this area as well. Like Camp Cod and stuff, like rotating around, like all that stuff makes me a little.
But weren't those like the super spots we were
thought in my
about
head,
in the preview?
Queasy. Jesus, I gotta stop that.
Like, didn't we say those were like those were super spots though to be out for search? Like,
what?
It's good when there's a lot of people around you contested. You get to like pick and choose where you want to go.
Yes and no. I mean, if you have to be split like this, then no.
Well, yeah, it depends on timing. Just because, like, I haven't seen how Jamside Fear and Dementors play it because they just called through that 1 week, and like I didn't like go back and see how they did it. But like I know teams who will like sort of disengage from Misty and move towards that side. It's like if your timing is wrong, you could like get like caught. I wish I could like tell it straight on the map, but you could get caught like where there's like the weird sort of elevation, right? You're trying to get up to like up the dam. Like if you get caught there, and like now you're trying to rotate towards like Slurpee side, and so it's like it gets really awkward, yeah, because they will like a lot of times teams will rotate there. Like a Misty team will like go split to houses, then rotate down that path. And so if you're not up at that point that they've decided to do that, you're just screwed because then you're trying to move towards Slurpee, and the Slurpee team's looking at you for tags, and they'll happily trade because they have all of Slurpee for shields. And so it does get really awkward. Their timings are gonna have to be really good. But I believe their timings will be good. So
yeah. And the final punctuation on the map would be Pleasant Park. Which team is kind of rolling through to maybe contest. Will there even be an extra team? Who knows? And then MXR and Bubak are going to be dropping it down at Stealthy as well.
True. Potentially. We don't know how MXR, Podesai, and whatnot are going, but
I don't want to say MXR leave that though. You know what I'm saying? That's multi-season.
That's home.
Well, MXR, he's not landing Stealthy no more, right? It's like he's landing.
Man. Like,
where is he landing, Levin?
He's landing. Oh yeah, he's landing. I forgot where we did this in Heat preview, right?
Yeah,
he's landing. Like
it was Stealthy.
Oh, cool. Well, no, well, he's been landing Stealthy in something else. I know, or outside of Stealthy, sorry, in something else. So I feel like there's a spot. It might be like Spire or Boney where like he's comfortable landing. Well, it wouldn't be Boney in this lobby, bloody hell. Well, like I think they do have a secondary spot, and I think nobody's trying to contest Booback, Nebs and Ways. Like everyone's sort of scared of those guys in like an off spawn. Like the 1 week we did see Bubeko spawn, like they just rolled. I forgot even who it was, but they just rolled through them.
Yeah, it was a weaker team. It was a weaker team.
I'm also thinking about like what ifs, like if Robab squalls, where is this team going?
Well, I don't know. It's like they're all over the
Like,
place
it's
already.
crazy.
Aren't they already all over the place? Like they went craggy one time.
Like,
they're going somewhere else in heats. Like they're all over the place.
Yeah, they're like craggy, dirty, kind of in between either or, and like that's just not an option. Cammy split will also just be like the right side of the map is kind of sick.
Yeah, there's a lot of open space right now. I mean, obviously we only have 12 teams, so I do think that Pleasant Park is going to be an interesting one because there's still the potential of Benji, Amplify, Matzo like coming through. I mean, I just cast my doubts in the preview on them, but like, what happens then? Because Floki, Clement, and Deciptos qualified through. Oh shit! What the hell did I just do? I don't even know how to like
zoom.
There we go. They did qualify out of Slurpy Swamps, you know?
Yeah. But we expect Astro to qual, and they are a Slurpy team. Where they're gonna go, right? We expect Bad Snipers trio to qual. They are a lazy team, and Kaiser's trio showed that they can be contested by 4 teams and still win lazy, so you don't want to go there. So like there's honestly, like when I'm trying to think back to the teams who we sort of said would be good to qual, it could actually get really complicated in terms of who lands where. Like some people might just be forced out of their spots, and some of them might just be forced into a position where you're just screwing both of your FNCSs, or you're just gambling on just being the better team of spawn on that day.
But the freest spots still like end up being like, you know, rent, like you're free, you're not stressed at all, is like what? Coral, Slurpy a little bit, and like Steamy. Like,
yeah.
No one's gonna kind of step to there at all. There's not gonna be any extra stuff going on. So
yeah, I think Steamy is relatively safe right now. I was gonna bring up Savage and Dread and Ref's Guard. They are chilling up there. Insta qual week 1. Nobody else made it from Steamy, as far as I remember. Like at all.
But like, there's always this like 6 seed or like reboot round team.
Yeah.
Like someone coming through that ends up just saying, man, like all we know is Steamy.
I honestly think though that we're getting to a point in Fortnite competitive where like every team really understands the stakes and what's at like what being contested means and like all of that, where they might make long-term plays and whatnot, but when it comes to grand finals, I think we're actually at a state where it's not as crazy grief and whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, that's the thing though. We have to sort of remember the sort of openness that is sort of there on that east side. You know, that I don't actually necessarily think there'll be a Steamy team that makes it through. Like I know in 7 Tools Heat, they are literally contested by Mayhem, and when they have fought them there, they've won. So maybe they just, you know, win there, and maybe they call through Steamy. And in that case, I feel really bad for Andrea and Ref's Guard because last season it was just so sad. Like by day 2, it would be like 5 teams just all fighting at Steamy, and it was just so awful. And I felt so bad because those guys are actually really, especially like Scram. Like Scram's such a nice guy. I remember speaking to Scram, and he's just like, you know, we have an open mind. You know, maybe we have to leave, but like we're really confident. And I'm like, oh, I'm ready to win, but it's so bad, man. I hope they get it on con.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see you. Let's do NA. Let's see North America.
Got you.
North America.
Okay. Is the font different, man? This guy didn't use bold. Shout out once again, FN_Maxime. At the end, there's an E on Twitter. We're making these maps.
Yeah, he's made all Heats maps and everything. Like this guy's actually a legend.
He's nuts. And he doesn't DM you over and over again to retweet the map. It's crazy.
Oh, dear. You're gonna ruffle. You're gonna ruffle.
You know who you are.
Feathers here, young man.
I'm aggressive. But yeah, for this map, no contestation right off the bat in terms of qual teams. Looking at safe spots, I feel like it's kind of different over here, where actually it's kind of the same. I feel like Misty's not going to be contested. Neither is Slurpy.
Oh, Misty, this is wrong, isn't it? Shouldn't it be Caddy?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't actually know where in trios they're going, because I know obviously they started at Caddy, but they also messed around with Sweaty Sands for a little bit, and they did mess around with Misty as well. So like I think it's actually kind of unclear whether this is correct or not, but I think Caddy is more correct than Misty. I might be wrong. It's very hard to tell.
I feel like Coral gets contested out of people who qual. I don't know who, but
yeah. Dom and Dusky won
in NA.
Hmm?
People contest Coral in NA.
Yeah.
What is
Dude,
going
I forget
on?
which season it was, but maybe it was season 4. Like 3 teams at Coral, like every week.
Why abuse yourself like that? Like, don't you value your mental health? You know, like what?
To be fair, you do remember the season where Benji, Savage, and Letshe are literally W King towards Coral every time when they're getting bullied off the spawn.
That was different because that's like their idea for like a surge strat, right? And it's just gone critically wrong. I feel like looking at this map, there's so much potential for like good splits, and I wonder who just like who out of the heats will just like sort of take advantage of that. Like if you're, once again, I wish I had the situation. You see like by the bridge, but to like the right of Spire, right? Like that Nosh's team, for example, they need
this one or this one?
Like like this one and like this sort of whole area here, right? Like Nosh's team, like they need this sort of area for like metal because they're not going to get any metal from Spire, right? So if you like are a team who comes through heats and like you sort of like control this and then like maybe go towards bridge and up towards like that gas station, you try like split something, you can really just mess with them and still get quite a good distribution of like loot, right? Like you know, I
they've been hard focused on Risky as their like W key spot and trying to clear it out throughout the season. So I don't know if that's going to be the biggest factor, but yeah, maybe they like a team can come and yoink, you know, especially if they're focused still on Risky.
They're gonna do like the outskirt lazy split if anyone does roll through and like wants to abuse gas station, which I don't think is gonna be
like here.
It's gonna be
this
the way,
area,
like like that area, and combine that with the lake house potentially. I've seen that work like a few times, but like it's just risky because
that's where Rojo and them are dropping in EU heats, if I remember correctly.
Really? It's a really good spot. It's just as soon as you piss off one trio, like they realize, they're taking something of mine. One person gets landed on and it's over.
I think it's weaker too because retail has the bunker chests that are out here and they're trying to drive like up here a lot of times to just get that extra loot.
Yeah, that little house used to be like some people from Lazy would stretch to it because they're like a guaranteed henchman chest in the past. I'm not sure how it's been updated now, but like with the removal of that henchman chest, like that entire split is a little bit less powerful and viable. So Sweaty Sands, there's a potential for there to be no teams of big name caliber rolling through. Right?
Yeah, I mean, Clicks, Bizzle, and Booger are fighting against Tahi Gabe and Sprite in the same heat. So yeah, it's potential that neither of them qual, though they're still reboot. So I don't think that's.
If they'd be playing against each other in reboot. Historically, when they fight and they don't qual, they end up side by side.
Playing against each other in reboot. Holy shit! I didn't even think about that.
Like it will go down to like triple OT, bro. Like, or like technically this is 5th overtime, right? Like if there's no regulation, I don't even know. I would call like every qual plus the semis plus reboot round. Like
that's a big thing, right? Like this season there's been way more opportunities to qual for finals. Like there's like a total of like 24 games worth of like you can qual straight for finals compared to last season's 6.
Yeah.
Right. So like this is literally on replay. We've had this on replay, and if anything, you're just almost hoping that like you both do so bad, but like one of you does good enough to get into a reboot round and the other one just like barely misses out. Because that will happen. Like, you know, that you get like a team that will get like,
top
16th, then a team like will get like the other one will get like 20th or something, you know, like they're still close there, but like.
And you get multiple chances in the reboot. Like reboot is actually a strat. Like I feel like this season, it's not like the one-off.
It's a gamble, man. 3 one-off games to win, get a win.
But it's if you're a top dog, like it's if you think about it, like you're playing every week with 6 one-off games to try to win one, right?
So no, but like you sort of, that is true, and a lot of people do see it that way. But at the same time, you're chaining your games, right? Like because you have like there's continuity there where you acquire a certain amount of points this game. You understand, okay, I just need to do this in this game, whereas that doesn't exist, right? Where it's like,
but I feel like you're just playing for the win. Yeah, for game time when everyone's playing for the win. Like those guys are kind of slightly buffed. like because they know how to do it better, and they in that type of lobby with that mentality, they operate better. But that's a whole other story. For Steamy, who's ending up there? That's not
I have no clue. I haven't looked at
all yet because I don't.
I haven't looked at the heat maps that deeply yet. I mean, I can pull it up, but we'll do that in the preview.
All I know is that from what we
you gotta
saw,
watch the extra content, guys, if you want to know what we think about the NA Heat.
How strong? Like this goes for EU as well. How strong do we feel like Craggy Cliffs is this season?
pretty strong, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strong.
Why? And I don't know. Do we see any difference from last season? Basically,
Already got buffed. Strong.
how did it get buffed?
Bunker chest.
Bunker chest.
Where?
Easy. NPCs.
Scroll in.
NPCs really good.
Go to Bucky's name. Or go right above Kanata's name. Right above the NA in Kanata. It's right there.
Just like right here.
Yeah, you break down into
a little bit lower. You break down. It's in there.
Yeah.
Bunker chest. I think with an extra chest as well.
The NPC on the right gives you like like the tasks are really easy. Is that what they call it? What they call it again?
Quests.
Tasks, not Among Us. Quests.
Yeah, quest. Yo, Kanata, you do your tasks, bro. You're kind of acting sus, man. Yeah. I think the potential as well, because like I think over the seasons the stealthy teams have kind of gotten a little bit quieter. I've seen like craggy teams end up like doing the fishing strats and getting to the island first, or like whereas before stealthy teams were usually the ones to attack Aqua Island or whatever the hell it's called nowadays. So definitely stronger.
Yeah.
And then I don't think anyone contests Miro reverse and day.
Yeah.
Even if they do, it's not like they're pretty solid and secure.
Yeah.
From that spot.
I think so too. And yeah, I think what happened? There was one season where they're just like messing, or they just left and they were playing that other side. We did see them do something like they were messing around with slightly different. Like they weren't always a dirty dogs this season throughout the entirety of the season. So it's potential that they have backup options, which I think is really, really nice. Same thing for Scented Edge and Commandment. But Dirty Dogs should be full safe for them. Full safe.
I feel like hot take, but one of these teams ends up switching to Sweaty if there's no qual.
Scented Edge and Commandment, will you think?
I think so, yeah. The highest percentage, if not them, someone else. Because I see Misty just being kind of messy, and I see the people around Caddy kind of hard to, bully. So
yeah, both of those positionally are not necessarily the strongest. Like, compared to Sweaty Sands, Craggy, like you're coming down, usually not really having to deal with any significant elevation difficulties or water or anything like that, and easier with the roads to get center compared to Misty, where the only path to center is either through the center mountains or with the Slurpee road, and that's just fucking chaos. So yeah. The only deficiency is losing the peppers from Caddy if they are playing Caddy, which I think was honestly slightly a crux in their game, because Scented and Commandment were landing Caddy in duos yesterday, and that was The one thing I saw about them, by the way, which I didn't mention, was that there was a willingness to actually play for height. I think 2 games they didn't play for height, like it wasn't like fifth zone I'm posting up, but it was like, let's look for the opportunity, let's go for it. And I think 2 games they did it, and it worked out. One of them they ended up winning, and then the other one they ended up coming second or something like that. I think it was the first game, and it was off of peppers, but they were also using the peppers for fifth, like just moving zone rotates on floor.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're talking about the possibility of them going to Sweaty if nobody quals from Sweaty.
I don't know. I think they have a really good thing going, especially if they do stay with like the Catty and the Peppers, because that was one thing I noticed about them last season, when in certain rounds they did sort of look at height at points, and it was definitely because like they had started being coached by Bloodex a bit, and he was like encouraging them to play height in certain scenarios. I think that's probably leaked over here now. And with the Peppers, they have that possibility. It's actually funny because I was sort of thinking, like, what's the answer for Andalex's Shyo? They should literally just play it the way these guys do, where they don't necessarily use it for height, but they will use it to save so many mats first moving.
Dude,
And
I think if
so-
Alex's trio switches to a Scented and Edgy Commandment playstyle, they'll be gods. Because in my mind, that was what they like. I didn't think of them as a high team previously.
Yeah, no.
I thought they
Yeah,
were
I didn't
mid
either.
ground, low ground fragging team. Like, just come into endgame with 5 kills and move on. I don't know, but yeah, they aren't playing that way. Anyways, we digress. That's how you use that word.
Always find a way to make it about EU. Let's go.
Avery Saf stretch is gonna be similar to like snipers, not bad snipers. Who was it in EU that's landing?
Kaiser.
Kaiser. Is it gonna be similar to that situation where a lot of people come through and they dominate, or is no one looking to really contest the spot at all?
I don't think anyone wants to contest.
I don't think anyone's messing with that. I still think that I had that crazy take about them winning FNCS just because of the way they were playing. And I think Lazy Lake has a big part to do with that just because it's slightly more centered for them. I think it's still a possibility. I think Lazy Lake for them is so strong in their play style.
Yeah, I think the biggest question though is just gonna be honestly what happens in Heat 2. I think that's all people are really watching in the East for. Dead ass. That's why I'm there. So yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing how those guys do in a grand final. Like when hearing like Stretch on stream like talking about like certain things, it's clear that their mentality isn't, you know, I don't think they're sort of buying into any sort of hype at all. Like I feel like they've sort of distanced themselves from like conversations being had about them and about other trios on that sort of level. And that's a good sign to me. How they do in the final will be like really telling for the future of them moving forward. Because it was really weird where like somebody like in Stretch's stream was like, really like enjoy playing with more or something like that, like Avery or Booga. And like he took a while to answer. And so I was like, hold on a minute, what's going on here? Like he literally was just like, he said Avery in the end, but then he was like, yeah, like I feel like I've played with Avery more. And even then, I didn't really buy that just because, like, he play like squads and duos with bigger. But either way, like, he eventually did say Avery, but it was like,
and trios, like,
yeah, like, so it was like,
oh, weird. He didn't get posted to Twitter like Mars OW. Oh, strange. Like,
it's an agenda. It's clearly an agenda.
I thought that was such a dumb fucking tweet thread and Reddit thread.
That's what you want, right? The content, bro. We need the content.
Dude, every reply was just on God, OMG. I'd leave them on God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's wraps.
Yeah,
I don't think we have any more. Unless you wanted to pop off on something. Anybody want to pop off on something?
Yeah, 11. Where's the rant, bro?
Yeah, hit us with a little rant.
What are you guys on about?
11 2K rant.
Shut up, man.
It was a Shyo Wager showdown. Come on, bring it.
Yeah,
Shyo Wager showdown? Nah, it'd be a Shyo Wager outro. Yo, we'll see the Dreamhack.
No energy. No vim.
You're about to cast, bro. How are you sleeping, man? Like,
bro,
what is
like,
this?
give them something.
I have like this structure for cast, right? You got to wake up a certain time before. You got a big vibe. You listen to certain music for a long time in the morning. I didn't get to do that yet, so I'm not in the flow. I had to turn on my tracks. I gotta dance around my room a bit. And, you know, put the AC under the shirt. Get all cold. It's gonna be a good time. It's the wave.
Let's go.
But yeah, EU Grand Finals are gonna be happening in just a few hours from our perspective, and then it'll be so much fun to watch. Other than that, that was FNTASIA episode 16. We're gonna be getting cars from our parents. Let's go. And then at 17, who knows what happens? That's year you really have to study for school, get into a good university. But yeah, that was it, guys. I'm gonna go ride my whip with the boys. We'll see you on the next one.